Hey everybody, you are listening to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. Congratulations for getting here a little bit early. And a big old congratulations to Josie over there on YouTube for first comment of the day award. All right, early folks, I like it. I like this minute we get before the show just to hang out, you and me. No Gons looking over our shoulder, listening in to everything that I'm saying and also sort of talking to me that you guys can't hear. Get away, Gons. No, this is me time. This is time with me and the early people. All right, anyways, folks, thanks for being here. Remember to head over to CanaryCry.Party. CanaryCry.Party. That's where you can find all the links that you could ever possibly want. You want to join the Discord channel? Do you? Do you want to follow us on multiple locations because YouTube will kick us off forever soon? Do you? Well, maybe you want to become a producer. Whatever it is you want, head over to CanaryCry.Party and get your links. It's a good time. I think that's pretty much all I have for pre-show announcements. So we're just gonna jump right into the show here in the next 10 seconds or so. But I want to let everybody know, stay hydrated, please. It's hot out there. Stay hydrated for me. I don't have air conditioning in my office. I am basically in a sauna during the show. Just let me live vicariously through your hydration. Okay, let's get going. Oh yeah, while we're here, folks, sorry, we had a slight delay. I also want to remind everybody to follow the Canary Cry News Talk backup channel. That's right. I think we hit the number of followers. We now have a URL. It's youtube.com/CanaryCry.News Talk. Imagine that. So go follow YouTube.com/CanaryCry.Radio. It's our backup channel. Face Like the Sun has 2 strikes, folks. One more and it's gone forever. And Canary Cry Radio YouTube channel is not that far behind. So go follow the backup, youtube.com/CanaryCry.News Talk.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is June 25th, 2021. This is episode 355. Woo! And today, the great onset. Razzle dazzle, I'm your best buddy Basil.
And this is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Welcome to the podcast where we bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting all the egregious stuff with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And man, yesterday, the news cycle from yesterday was insane. And crazy. I say that because so much was happening all at once. It was really hard to keep up. We're going to try to consolidate everything for you today on this episode, but my head was spinning. And at the end of the night, I like to do a little reading at night, prepare for the show. And I stuck my nose in Klaus's books, Klaus Schwab, COVID-19 Klaus.
Yes, Emperor Klaus Patine.
Yeah, Emperor Klaus Patine. A couple of his books. We'll go over some of that today. But I don't think it's a reset anymore. It's the onset. They've pressed the button. Everything is starting to happen very, very quickly. And we'll just launch right into it because, Basil, you're short on time today.
Yeah, just a heads up. Just slightly shorter show. Not too much shorter, but we're going to be going about 2.5 hours today. So jam-packed. We are going to have to fly through some things, but it's going to be great. It's going to be a good time. We're all in this together.
Yeah, so we got to kick things off right, and that is Joe Biden talking about gun violence and the Second Amendment. try to make sense of what he's saying here.
The Second Amendment, from the day it was passed, limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own. You couldn't buy a cannon. Those who say the blood of patriots, and all the stuff about how we're going to have to move against the government. Well, the tree of liberty is not water with the blood of patriots. What's happened is that there never been, if you wanted to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. The point is that there's always been the ability to rationally limit the type of weapon that can be owned and who can own it.
So his gun control argument is, even during the beginning when they wrote the Second Amendment, people couldn't buy cannons. And
I'm pretty sure they could, actually.
Yeah, I know. That's a weird thing to say. And also, the quote he was trying to get out is by Thomas Jefferson: "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." And there are people who have talked about how the tree hasn't been watered much. And I think that's what he was trying to articulate, except he said blood of the patriots, the thing about the water and the
classic Joe. But I didn't think he was gonna. By the way, somebody on YouTube says I could use a little boost in my mic. But yeah, he gets totally lost in there, which means we all get totally lost and sort of in the middle. Yeah. I did not think he was going to recover and actually make a point. But in case you missed it, his point is, don't try to fight the government. We're going to hit you with our F-15s and our nukes. What are you going to do?
That's not what he said. I've listened to it a few times. I know this is the first time you're hearing this.
What is it, Mr. Listening Guy?
He's saying that the only way to take down the government is you need F-15s and nukes.
Yeah, I hear you. But that's in the context of someone trying to overtake the government would need those things because that's what the government would use on them.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you need a nuke to The problem is that that's not that crazy. I mean, it's crazy because he's, obviously bringing the point to the absurdity.
He's obviously crazy. Yeah.
Logic ad absurdum there, which is a logical fallacy and a manipulative rhetorical trick. But the problem is we are constantly worried about, terrorists building what do they call it?
Well, they would have a
briefcase nuke.
Yeah, well, that's the fear. It's the part of the propaganda of fear to keep us in our place, to give up our privacy, our freedoms. That's the narrative. There's always this threat of suitcase nukes or bombers or whatever.
And in the context of what he's trying to talk about, which is gun control, what he's saying is you cannot defeat us, so therefore we're going to take away your guns. Don't even try. And yeah, look, I get it. I'm being a little hyperbolic. He's not trying to take away all guns, but certainly stricter gun control. So he's saying, "Oh, don't even try. You can't beat us. So you just don't get the cool guns. You can have the lame guns."
The other possibility is he's saying, well, even if you have F-15s and nukes, we'll just, directed energy weapon you to dust.
Yeah, notice how he doesn't mention the microwave cannons.
Yeah.
He's not allowed to talk about that.
Yeah. And
that's another fun, scary, again, fitting in with the attitude of the Biden administration, which is stop being mean to me. Stop it. I'm going to be mean to you.
Oh, do you want a gentle Biden? Would you like a more gentle?
I would. Please.
Okay, well, I think you're going to enjoy this next clip. He's talking, the infrastructure bill was passed, and we'll get to that after a couple, flippy updates and a cyber pandemic thing, which is all part of it. But here's Biden. This went viral yesterday, so many of you have probably already seen it. Basil hasn't. But here's your gentle Biden.
I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far.
Oh,
they're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential. I wrote the bill on the environment.
I don't like this.
This is an employees bargaining chip now. What's happening?
What is happening?
He's whispering for so long. I thought it was gonna a little short thing.
Well, to be fair, these are clipped together, so I don't think he was whispering the whole time. But yes, I don't know what the deal is.
So many whispers.
He wrote the bill.
I wrote the bill,
and he wants to pay them more.
Pay them more.
It sounds like an EVP, when you're in a haunted house.
Yeah, dude, you could totally make a fun little EVP clip of that. For those who don't know, Gons is referring to this little device that ghost hunters use, and it just cycles through different frequencies on a radio. And the thought is that as you get, like little flashes of static, the ghosts are given the medium to speak through. It does sound like he's, I don't know, I don't like it. It's very disturbing. I wish I had not heard that.
I told you, and I mentioned it on air back in 2020. It was like late 2020, before the elections. I said, if Biden becomes president, at the very least, it'll be very entertaining. And I was not wrong, which I'm sad about. But it's really interesting, though. He just gets quieter. Just all of his clips get quieter and quieter.
Come on, man. 120 days. Anytime. I wrote the bill. Pay them more.
He's just going to be on the floor, coming up, just mumbling.
Maybe Biden should start an ASMR channel.
Yeah, he really should.
Maybe that's the way to get his point across.
Yeah. All right.
Yikes. All right. Well, I suppose we should get into the show here, and we'll start out with a Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Oops.
Okay. Yes.
No, you're fine. I just don't have the correct story up on the thing.
Okay. Well, folks, it's time for the Flippy update. Flippy, if you don't know, is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that the robots are taking over the world, and just how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, Gons, I think there's a storm a brewing. This is coming from HoustonPublicMedia.org, and the headline: Austin cyclists split on sharing bike lanes with pizza delivery robots.
Oh, they're encroaching on us now.
Get out of my way. The headline goes, a small fleet of robots delivering pizza in central Austin has set off a debate about whether the semi-autonomous machines' use of bike lanes will squeeze cyclists off the road or launch a technological revolution to reduce motor vehicle deliveries and boost demand for bicycle infrastructure. Quote, my personal view is that I don't believe these belong in the bike lane, said Jake Boone, who serves as vice chair of the city's Bicycle Advisory Council. Quote, I almost feel a lot of tempering for this guy. I almost feel like we're the test subject for this new technology. Well, you are, so you're allowed to feel that way, Jake Boone. And that does bother me, he said. What if in 2 years we have several hundred of these on the road? Michigan-based Refraction AI started operations in Austin last week with 10 semi-autonomous robots delivering Southside Flying Pizza in Travis Heights and the Central Business District. The company's Rev 1 vehicle looks sort of like a futuristic ice cream cart with 2 wheels in the front and 1 in the back. For now, an attendant on an electric scooter follows the Rev 1 while the machine's artificial intelligence learns Austin's streets. Eventually, the robot will roll alone at up to 15 miles per hour with a remote operator monitoring over the internet. What a cool job. This guy's job is to just wear a shiny vest and follow robots around all day on an electric scooter.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as jobs go in this new robot apocalyptic scenario, scooter supervisor It's a pretty laid back gig.
Yeah, I was going to say that maybe it's the guy in the scooter that was bothering the cyclists more than the robot itself.
I was going to say, I think cyclists hate scooter people more than they hate robots, but let's continue. Some cyclists remain uncertain about exactly how a Rev 1 would move out of a cyclist's way on a path next to cars and trucks whizzing past at 30 miles per hour or more, as is the case on parts of South Congress. Austin Transportation Department staff provided a briefing on Refraction AI's delivery robots Tuesday night to Austin's Bicycle Advisory Council. Gotta love it. Gotta love Austin. There's a Bicycle Advisory Council, a 9-member body the Elder Council of Bicyclists, created to, quote, advise the city of Austin and other jurisdictions on all matters related to the use of the bicycle. According to city bylaw, the city did not consult the BAC before Refraction AI started operations in Austin. Oh, no, they did not consult the council. Oh, the council will not be pleased. It's almost as if the Austin government is not taking the Bicycle Advisory Council seriously. Imagine that. Let's see here. It goes on for quite a bit longer, but let's check in with a couple quotes here. Quote, looking at that before things are implemented on the street is critical so we can let people know what to expect, said Brianna Cohen, chair of the Bicycle Advisory Council. She, like Boone, was speaking in her own capacity and not on behalf of the group. This is not official Bicycle Council statement. Quote, it is really surprising if you go on the road and see something foreign and it's coming at you at 15 miles per hour. You know, these bicyclists, they're very sensitive. If they see something new, they're done for. You got to stay sharp, bicyclists. Cohen had concerns about robots operating in bike lanes, but said he was also hopeful that such small electric vehicles would eventually reduce the number of vehicles on the road. Quote, in terms of exploring other options besides using cars, I think it's headed in the right direction. The prospect of robots replacing multi-ton vehicles propelled by toxin belching internal combustion engines excites a lot of bicycle advocates. Quote, we have a real problem with deliveries in urban areas, said Chris Riley, former Austin City Council member who is now president of Bike Austin, a nonprofit focused on making cycling more accessible. Yes, cycling, the most inaccessible, exclusionary mode of transportation. Quote, I am glad to see a shift in the direction of other forms of delivery, specifically delivery that relies on vehicles that are more human scale, etc., etc. So here's the thing. If you know any cyclists, and look, I'm a bikey boy. I'm a bike boy.
I'm a bikey boy. Okay.
I talk about my bike boy stuff, doing my bike boy, riding down by the river, doing the thing. I got to hit some bike trails. I get it. I'm pro bike, huge pro bike person. I think maybe the Bicycle Advisory Committee thinks a little bit too much of their authority. But everybody knows a cyclist. Now I'm talking about a real cyclist, you know, the real hardcore
the outfit,
folks.
the tight get up.
There's a couple versions. Of course, there's the Lycra, you know, speedy looking sporty guy, but there's also the sort of hipster version of that. They usually got tight pants on and rolled up their jeans up to their knee, wearing some Vans and riding a fixie. You know, that kind of thing. There's a couple types, but these are aggressive people. They are aggressive, and more than anything, Gons, speaking as a bike boy, cyclists are territorial. They're they don't like coming in contact with other cyclists, much less autonomous robots. I think in the war against the robots, the inevitable coming war against the robots, we might be able to find some common ground with these angry two-wheeled people on the road. If they hate robots or are displeased with the ubiquitous nature of the robot apocalypse, I think we might have an ally in the bicycle authority council or whatever.
Yeah, the other thing is, do they know that it's a pizza delivery robot? Is there like a sign on it?
Know?
The bikers, the cyclists.
I don't know.
Because
I have no idea what they know. They're an enigma.
Because I can picture them, usually guys that are cyclists are more into fitness and nutrition and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's another layer to get them triggered, just a little box of pizza on wheels rolling down the street in front of them. I can see how that can be very traumatic. Yeah, just like, come on, I'm trying to work out. And then get in their way is pizza.
It'd be a good psychological operation that the pizza delivering robots pipe out the scent of fresh baked pepperoni pizza, kind of how they pipe the cinnamon roll smell into Disneyland, just to mess with our brains. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to start as a Cold War between the cyclists and the robots, but will quickly escalate. Especially since we saw, these delivery robots that are being sort of experimented with, as well as these security robots. There's videos of these things being just totally destroyed by gangs of roving teens. Yeah. There's that security robot that got demolished by a Tesla, an autonomously driving Tesla. I don't know. We're moving into an interesting future. But there you go. So bicyclists out there, look, we've had our differences, you and I, but we can all come together and find a common enemy in the robot apocalypse. How do we know these little robot delivery things don't actually have like children being trafficked around, because it's pizza? Just putting this little Wayfair spin on it. Yeah. That's going to be I bet someone's going to way of knowing, Gons. Somebody will take that as the, part of the conspiracy. Somebody will, and hopefully not because of you just bringing it up now. That was a joke. Everybody, don't destroy these things. It was a joke, Susan. Susan. I know you, Susan. These particular robot delivery vehicles are different from like the Amazon ones. These ones look like it could have someone inside of it. Yeah. And they're on like bike wheels. Like the front wheels are bike wheels. Have you seen those sort of pedal driven? They're basically bikes, but they're sort of like a car built around them, or like they're like an enclosed bicycle. That's what this looks like. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyways, we'll see. There you go. That's your Flippy update. Anybody in Austin, Texas, take a picture of one of these things if you see it, and make sure to get the scooter man, the robot babysitter. Interview the scooter man. Find out how much he's getting paid. I would love to talk to the scooter man. Yeah. Okay, well, they may become monsters during the cyber pandemic.
The COVID-19 crisis would be seen as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber pandemic.
COVID-19. TheDrive.com. The National Guard just simulated a cyber attack that brought down utilities nationwide. And it says here, the National Guardsmen just completed a 2-week training exercise which saw them respond to a simulated cyber attack that took out critical utilities across the United States. The exercise have become an annual event, but this year took on even more significance after coming on the heels of several major ransomware and cyber attacks that crippled large parts of American infrastructure in recent months. The exercises were part of the 7th Cyber Yankee, a training event that brings together guardsmen. Wait. I just want to make sure I heard that right. 7th Cyber Yankee? Yankee, yeah, like the New York Yankees.
Okay, Cyber Yankee.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good anti-robot militia.
Yeah.
That can come up in, a couple decades.
Mm-hmm. And training event that brings together guardsmen from throughout the New England region to test their responses against simulated cyber attacks. This year's exercises simulated a cyber attack that targeted utilities on the West Coast before spreading east across the United States toward New England. In addition to offering hands-on training on how to respond to active cyber attacks, the exercise was also intended to build cyber defense collaboration between the National Guard and private sectors, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and U.S. Cyber Command, among others. Quote, "We do it in an exercise environment so that when it does happen,
Yeah.
not if it happens, when it does happen.
When it happens in 3 days.
Yeah. We've already got those relationships established, not just from a National Guard, but from all of our critical infrastructure, our federal, local, state partners," said Major Ryan Myler, State Cyber Operations Officer for the Connecticut Army National Guard. Quote, "We've established those lines of communication, and then it's that much easier to get together and respond." This year's Cyber Yankee saw the annual exercise's first use of the new Cyber 9 line system developed by U.S. Cyber Command. Cyber 9 line offers National Guard cyber units a template of questions that allows them to quickly communicate the specifics of a suspected cyber attack up the chain of command to U.S. Cybercom, U.S. Cybercom being the U.S. Cyber Command. Yeah. Once Cybercom has that information from Cyber 9 line, it can then more quickly and efficiently diagnose that attack and offer information back to the reporting unit, who can then share that intel among affected local governments and industry partners. I'm wondering how are they doing like radio to communicate? Because if the internet goes down on these attacks, they're not going to have the communication system anyway. I'm sure they have it figured out. Quote, "The Cyber 9 line is still in its infancy, but after standing up this program a few months ago, we've already seen an impact," said U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Passini, CNMF Future Operations Deputy Chief, in a U.S. Cybercom press release last year. Quote, "Ultimately, the goal is to provide mutual support to each other. The Cyber 9 line questionnaire is similar to other 9 line formats used by U.S. Armed Forces for requests such as medical evacuations or close air support." And
air
it goes,
support?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Air support.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Cyber crime.
Hey, you never know. It could be. It could,
got a drone strike. The iPad.
Well, yeah. Well, if the pizza robots all start trying to run over everybody, all the cyclists.
That is actually a really good point. Yeah, if you get some sort of cyber attack on autonomous vehicles or something. Sorry, Tesla. We got a drone strike to all your cool trucks.
Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel Cameron Sprague, Chief Information Officer for the Connecticut Air National Guard and Deputy Exercise Director for this year's Cyber Yankee, said that the simulated cyber attacks were designed to be as realistic and complex as possible in order to prepare for the types of incidents becoming more and more common across the country. There's a little block quote. "It's really hard to do an exercise like this effectively. Many cyber exercises involve activities that resemble a game of capture the flag, which are too easy and aren't necessarily applicable to real-world crisis. Operating effectively in incident response environment is really hard. That's what a lot of teams first take away when they're walking through this, is how we're actually going to do an incident response plan. That's the big point of this."
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like an event 201 for the cyber pandemic.
Yeah, and anytime they do exercises, it's always suspicious, right? Because they always just happen to be there when the real thing goes down.
We saw it in Israel during the most recent 11-day war. We saw it with Event 201 in the very next month. 2 months later, COVID started. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily take a genius to figure out that that this is going to happen soon. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of our cyber pandemic section here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not good news for those who are maybe hoping that it was going to get better.
Yeah, it goes through some of the history of what's happened recently, and then the last paragraph here. As recent events have shown, cyber attacks don't have to disable missile defense systems or satellites to inflict damage and cause major disruptions. Cyber attacks on private companies like Colonial Pipeline can do just as much harm by interrupting fuel supply operations, while a ransomware attack on a commercial electrical utility company could no doubt cause massive damage, as the basic sustainment and public safety systems the nation depends upon daily go dark. We can likely expect exercises like Cyber Yankee to ramp up and become more complex as the cyber threat continues to proliferate and the U.S. government finds more ways to mitigate and defend against it. So, yeah, all this happening while Biden passes his cyber infrastructure stuff too, which is this is all part of the agenda, it seems. But there you go. National Guard simulated a massive cyber attack that took down all the utilities on the West Coast, and I don't like that. I don't like it.
I do not care for this.
No, I don't.
That's funny.
I need to get my solar panels.
Yeah, I mean, you do need to get your solar panels.
We
all need
expensive.
To get our solar panels. It's serious business. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know what else to say. It speaks for itself. We've said all there is to say, except for, as we always like to remind everybody and experience ourselves, if you pay attention, you can tell the future. You pay attention to the signaling, to the mainstream, to the messaging going out. They give you everything you need to know if you know what to look for. And so if you've been sort of, dabbling with the idea of maybe protecting yourself against cyber threats or utility problems, I'm not trying to cause any panic, not trying to tell anybody how to live their lives or spend their money, but maybe see if it's in the budget this month.
Yeah, and we're going to move into the Great Reset / politics section, and because it kind of ties into some things we've talked about before and something you've mentioned, Basil.
We need a great reset.
Learn to use the dark side.
It's Latin for many. They'll suck your blood. Politics. Your blood.
Because one of the things that you mentioned was this observation about how the U.S. military is becoming more feminized. And the Chinese military, they're working on making them more masculine. Mm-hmm. And, there's been a lot of, recently Biden's been doing the whole, hey, we're against China. We're doing things against China. China's an enemy kind of thing. And it made me think that's got to be the biggest misdirection. That's probably China telling Biden and the U.S. to be like, hey, tell everybody we're doing all this stuff to fight against China. But in reality, that's the incentive to bring in all the Chinese philosophies and, continue to take over a lot of the important parts of infrastructure in the U.S.
You're talking about in the sort of the political sense, like communism?
Not just political, but I mean political, and the social part of it has already been pretty heavily done. But yeah, more in the military sense. And I say that because of what Chairman General Milley, I think it's Milley or Miley, said about critical race theory.
I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that, because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look, I do want to know, and I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets, but I want to know.
That's
wow.
Mark Alexander Milley, the U.S. Army General and 20th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Strawman attack, everybody. Watch out. The strawman boogeyman is coming for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot in there. I almost wish that we would have cut that up a little bit to respond. I mean, there's so much to respond to. First of all, look, again, I think maybe, I don't know this guy and exactly where he's coming from. I think the sentiment of like, yeah, we should understand the perspectives and experiences of fellow Americans, especially if they're serving our military, and do our best to right any wrongs that are there. I don't think anybody would necessarily disagree with that. But when he's talking about, what is it called?
The insurrection, January 6th.
Yeah, that, first of all.
Or
The
white rage.
A bunch of racist white rage people showed up to overturn the Constitution.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy.
That's the thing. Saying understanding like you mentioned, understanding it is one thing. Trying to internalize it in that way and picking up the narrative.
Look, and internalizing it, fine. I mean, that's kind of the problem with the conversation and the problem with this guy's little rant here, which is, look, we all recognize that, perhaps there are some perspectives that we don't have that are held by other Americans of different skin colors. And without a doubt, they're having an entirely different experience than the rest of us. And it's important to recognize that. And if there's anything that needs to be fixed, we need to fix it. But that is different from critical race theory. I mean, critical race theory states that you just can't help but be racist. You're just born racist. You're racist forever, and we gotta restructure society entirely. Not just restructure it for equality, but to sort of turn the hierarchy on its head and let. Anyways, I don't mean to hyperbolize it, but it's much more than what this guy's saying. I agree with what the guy says. Yes, it's good to have these perspectives, and if there's something that needs to be fixed, fix it. But you don't have to go off on some rant accusing Trump supporters of trying to overturn the Constitution, which is entirely false, I would say, at least for the majority of the people there. That's the complete opposite of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And critical race theory, just because it started at Harvard, does not give it some sort of inherent truthiness, as if we can't question a scholarly and academic system that was invented in the 1970s. I don't know. It's this guy has it almost sounds like there's a couple things. Either A, he has a daughter of a certain age or a son or whatever who, gave him a talking to, and his heart was changed by his daughter's impassioned rant against a white man in power, and sort of had a change of heart, or something a little bit more malicious and has some sort of official control and script and narrative that he's being pushed to do. And he's in charge. He's a 4-star general. So there you go. If you ask why is critical race theory being enforced, it's not even just taught. He keeps saying taught. It's not just taught. It's being enforced. Yeah, within the military. So, he's a 4-star general. He certainly has something to do with that.
Yeah, and, we mentioned the origins of critical race theory being from Harvard. And just as a side note, the whole alien Pentagon reveal thing is supposed to happen this afternoon. The report is supposed to go public. I see a bunch of stories on it. And one of the stories we have in our additional stories section is Harvard professor says UFO dropped off probes, and he's talking about the
Harvard professor, so it must be true.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of Harvard professors claiming things like UFO dropped off probes.
It was a team from Harvard that studied the VAERS database and told the FDA that they're only capturing 1% of vaccine-related injuries. And they didn't change that. They ignored Harvard. So what is this Harvard thing? This appeal to authority.
Well, I understand it because my mother always told me, you should go to Harvard. And I said, why?
Of course.
And she said, because you'll always have a Harvard degree. If I finish, and what's that going to do? Yeah. Turn me into a shill.
Brainwash me,
not
mama.
Everybody that went to Harvard is a shill, but, most of them are.
So speaking of critical race theory, it is just breaking that Derek Chauvin was sentenced to 22 and a half years in prison for the murder of George Floyd.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
People are going to freak out. It's not for life.
Yeah. No, you're right.
On the streets. Beware, folks, especially in Minneapolis.
It wasn't for life. Nothing would be good enough.
Yeah.
The funny the conundrum that they're in is that as good liberals, you can't advocate for capital punishment. Because if they could, they would.
Why can't they push for water torture or something?
Not capital. They can't do capital punishment by the government. But if it's a mob on the street carrying flags and picket signs, then capital punishment's okay.
Right.
It just has to be mob justice. It can't be government sanctioned.
Sure.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Yeah, we have a couple stories from the House committee passing some bills here, and of course it has to get through Senate, but they do touch on various things that we've covered over the years. Really, this first one is from ArsTechnica.com. House committee approves bill that could break up Amazon, Apple, and Google. And this one's not too long, but I don't think we need to go through everything. I'll just give you the gist of it. Okay. The House Judiciary Committee approved antitrust legislation that can prohibit platform operators like Amazon, Apple, Google, and Facebook from favoring their own products and services. And the legislation could even break up industry giants by forcing them to eliminate or sell certain divisions. Companies could also face fines of 15% of their annual revenue. Bills introduced by Democrats were approved in a hearing that began Wednesday morning. Okay, it doesn't matter how long it took them. The final and most controversial bill approved was the Ending Platform Monopolies Act, which, quote, eliminates the ability of dominant platforms to leverage their control across multiple business lines to self-preference and disadvantage competitors in ways that undermine free and fair competition. A press release from Antitrust Subcommittee Chairman David Chilin on June 11th said. And it goes through... let me just read this other part here. The bill text says it seeks to, quote, eliminate the conflicts of interest that arise from a dominant online platform's concurrent ownership or control of an online platform and certain other businesses.
Google, Facebook, Amazon.
Under the bill text, large platform operators have conflicts of interest when they own or control separate lines of business that create the incentive and the ability to, quote, advantage the covered platform operator's own products, services, or lines of business on the covered platform over those of a competing business. So we get the point. It goes through a whole conflict of interest, the fine of 15%, big tech kind of fighting back. Google slammed the legislation, arguing that, quote, American consumers and small businesses will be shocked at how these bills would break many of their favorite services. It's like, oh no. The people that love using Facebook, we love Facebook ads. What would we do without Facebook ads?
It's my favorite. One example of this is that we experience quite a bit is our, we have our Canary Cry Radio Facebook page. It's got more than 10,000 followers and stuff. And nobody sees the posts. And it's
nobody sees anything on it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, our Facebook sort of interactions are just pitiful. I don't even know why I bother anymore. But, we've got over 10,000, I think close to 11,000 people on the Facebook page. We've got, a couple thousand in the group. And when I post something on Facebook, it doesn't go anywhere. Like maybe 200 people will see it. I'm looking at our post today for the episode. It literally says 0 people have seen it. And this is because this is a function. Oh, I lied. I refreshed. 87 people out of the
it's not bad. Yeah, 87 out of the 10,000 that follow us on that page.
Yeah, and that includes, 5,000 of my friends, 3,000 in the group, 10,000 on the page, not to mention your people. And the point of that is that they purposefully stifle small business posts because they don't want the small business posts to go viral, because they want the small business to click that promote button that they keep putting in our faces, where you pay $10 and then they show it to people who have already decided to follow you.
Yeah, that's
they have chosen to follow you, but they don't see your stuff unless you pay Facebook for it. So this is just one small example that we see every day. And of course, not to mention, Amazon pushing you towards their Amazon's Choice product, which is just, there's no little third-party guy in between. So it takes many forms, and this is very interesting. Now, this just made it through House committee, so it's not passed in the House, I do not believe. Okay. It's just the committee that was working on it finally agreed to the terms. And which is a step, it's sort of the first step towards getting it going, which is great. I mean, it's better than we've made it so far. We'll see how far it goes.
You know what it's going to do, though, because if you kind of think about it, I'm always thinking in terms of China, the CCP, right, and how they would influence American politics to try to take over the world. As one example, other countries, and they're all kind of part of one big thing. We all know about the New World Order, but specifically China being a very useful tool for the elite. Break up Google, Amazon, Apple. Come join us, Alibaba, and all these other platforms. Use our mega corps instead. Well,
and again, we did a whole segment on how China is also doing this massive anti-monopoly movement within, again, their communist-controlled market.
A little propaganda thing to keep the people a little bit happier. I don't know that they're gonna. They can't. They do keep a lid. I think that's what it was, right? Like certain people didn't want to get big because they would get the Eye of Sauron from the CCP, and then if they take one bad step or wrong step, they can get chopped down, their lives destroyed, and all that.
Right.
There's kind of a limit, a glass ceiling kind of thing.
The point being that it wasn't until after China started doing it that
the U.S.
Our administration decided, I guess we'll do it too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, cool, there's something there. Cool.
Okay, well, another little piece here from the House. Now, the House actually passed this. This is coming from BallotPedia.org, news.ballotpedia.org. They track the different things going through the branches of government here. The headline is Economy and Society. House passes ESG Disclosure Act. There it is. Yeah. ESG developments this week. House passes ESG Disclosure Act on June 16th. The U.S. House of Representatives passed the ESG Disclosure and Simplification Act, which, as its name suggests, aims to compel publicly traded companies in the United States to disclose and report ESG-related data annually. In addition to the pecuniary and other relevant disclosures they already make, the bill passed by a narrow margin and faces what commentators argue is an uncertain fate in the Senate, perhaps unlikely to be enacted. Its passage in the House, however, is considered by ESG advocates a symbolic victory. So do you want to give a rundown of ESG?
Yep, that's the environment.
Sort of been your beat.
Yeah, environment, social, and governance. It's the dashboard. Remember, we covered stakeholder capitalism starting late last year, or sometime last year. We started noticing it as part of the Great Reset, and there was that video that talked about, we need to change capitalism in its current form is dead. We need to change it. We need a new dashboard, and we're kind of thinking, what is the dashboard?
Yeah,
and it's become pretty clear that ESG is that dashboard. We talked about BlackRock about 4 or 5 episodes ago. I think maybe even longer than that. The BlackRock episode where people are freaking out about BlackRock buying up all the houses. But one of the big things people weren't talking about is that BlackRock is heading the ESG integration. And we also covered how KPMG was reporting that every bank needs to adopt this ESG thing, or you're going to be left behind, and you're going to get pressure from legislators and your general public, other businesses and everything else. If you're not compliant, you're not going to be able to make it in this new world order. But the bill here, some of the things I have highlighted just to make things quicker here. Mm-hmm. The package of bills would require disclosure of ESG metrics broadly and dictate specific reporting expectations on climate risks, political spending, CEO pay, and taxation rates. And so, how much, carbon emissions. It's almost like Tesla was a blueprint in a way. I don't know about the political spending and how much the CEO gets paid and all that, but they're seeking a lot more transparency, which is I find interesting because corporations have not been the most transparent, and they're making it seem like that's a good thing to do, but all in the name of the environment and sustainable development. And later it says here, it would allow the SEC to consider independent, internationally recognized disclosure standards for reporting when creating rules to facilitate the ESG disclosure and establish a sustainable finance advisory committee at the agency. So more bureaucracy of internationally recognized disclosure standards.
Yeah.
Like, okay. All right. That's in the bill for the U.S. House there. Okay.
And this is all built in with the Great Reset World Economic Forum.
Oh, yeah.
Measurements. They're kind of the ones who are like, we're going to start measuring your ESG. Mm-hmm. This is the new normal.
Yeah. So public companies will have to disclose industry-tailored climate information, including direct and indirect greenhouse gas emissions and fossil fuel-related assets. And then it says here, before passage, the House adopted amendments that would require disclosure of the race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, and veteran status of board members and executives.
What?
That's what I'm saying. Well, that's the social part. That's the S in the ESG, social justice.
It is so weird, though, that we live in a world where the sexual orientation, the sexual desires of board members of a company needs to be reported to the public and the government. And look, I get it. I know the history of the LGBTQ community and, fighting for recognition and all these types of things. But the fact that it becomes public knowledge and you get official government points and it's on record someone's sexual preferences is ludicrous.
Oh, yeah. that won't cause discrimination or anything. Oh, you're a straight white male? You've been in this position long enough?
Sure. I mean, sure. Either way, but even to just put, I mean, you think of the measurements by which human beings should be considered, the categorizations, in society. There's coexist, everybody. We're all human beings, and we all are the same deep down. But you must put on record to the public and the government what your sexual preferences are. We need to put it in ink on paper, because it's very important to the Great Reset that we know what you're into.
Right.
It's just insane. It's complete insanity.
Yeah. But that's not all. They need workforce-related information, including diversity, safety, and pay, settlements or judgments connected to workplace harassment, board members' cybersecurity expertise, okay,
Weird.
And sourcing of materials from Xinjiang, China.
What?
It's just thrown in there. It's just really weird, You
need to report if you have assets that come from
materials.
Xinjiang, China.
Yeah.
Because of the Uyghurs.
Yep.
Oh, so you need to report if you're using slave labor.
Yeah.
No, even worse than slave labor. If you are
internment camp. Yeah.
Sourcing materials from genocidal efforts of a communist state, you must report it. Well, that is good. We should report that, actually.
I know, but who's going to be but who's going to be, okay, we'll let them know we're using the hair of the Uyghurs to.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know. They mean the forced labor, but as we know, sourcing from Xinjiang does include hair taken from prisoners and organs, human organs.
Yeah, this is very strange.
Bizarre.
Yeah, the tech companies push back against new disclosure standards, of course. Microsoft and Alphabet have pushed back against the calls to include disclosures on environmental, social, and governance issues in key U.S. regulatory filings, setting them on course for a tussle with major asset managers. See, this is the great part of the Great Reset is to expose all the corruption. And we've talked about this. This is part of the narrative that I think we recognized even when Trump was in office, and the whole Q movement and take down the elite and drain the swamp and all that. It's interesting because the ones doing it are like the world elite now. They're like, okay, you guys want to clean things up, we'll clean it up our way. And ESG is that way. So it's a very strange Hegelian dialectic type of thing happening here.
Yeah. Wow. That is really wild. Do you have something you want to wrap up with there?
I think I have another piece highlighted. There's an activist prepare for greater ESG disclosure. Disclosure. Wall Street and private sector inflation and ESG are reported primary investor concerns. Ooh, I know what I wanted to end this on. Fidelity nearly doubles its ESG offerings. Remember, we were thinking where they have all this money ready to go. I think somebody said $50 trillion ready to invest in all these ESG compliant companies. Yeah. And it's where are those companies? Well, Fidelity Investments today expands its sustainable investing lineup with 5 new actively managed environmental, social, and governance funds, 2 equity mutual funds, 1 bond mutual fund, and 2 equity exchange traded funds, which is ETFs. So there you go.
Who has these ETFs?
Fidelity. Yeah, big time.
Does it have the call sign on there?
No, I don't see the call. Oh, there it is. 3 new actively Fidelity Climate FCAEX. That's the Fidelity Climate Action Fund. Then there's the Fidelity Environmental Bond Fund, the FFEBX.
We might want to put these in the show notes or something. I mean, we see the Great Reset coming. Who knows? Maybe we got some investors out there.
You want to invest in some...
Make some money. I mean, it's got the World Health Organization behind it. They're forcing this down everybody's throats. If these new financial products might be interesting to look at as a good investment.
Yeah. Well, the link is certainly there that you guys can check it out. The last thing to mention here, that will lead us into the next story. ESG and Bitcoin again. As we noted in this newsletter, ESG and Bitcoin, or almost any cryptocurrency for that matter, are in the view of some commentators on a collision course, with the environmental concerns of ESG advocates running headlong into the perceived energy-intensive mining of Bitcoin. All this is making a lot more sense with why Elon did what he did this year.
Totally.
I mentioned this section about ESG and Bitcoin on a collision course because, again, the reality is we don't know exactly how much Bitcoin takes up in terms of like carbon emissions and stuff, but it's not even close to gold and how much like bankers and stuff use, right? It's just not it's not a problem, and Bitcoin is pushing for a lot more sustainable types of energy anyway.
Yeah, most of it is on wind and solar and geothermal and hydropower.
The El Salvador, the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender, is mining Bitcoin with volcano power or whatever. So natural stuff. Now, this leads us into this story here. If you want to read this one real quick, Basil, the USA Today.
Yeah, give me a second. Sorry, I was buying some.
Oh my gosh, you're buying
ESG stocks.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Here we go. USA Today. The headline is, quote, "I have no hope. Loved ones await news. Survivors flee after condo building partially collapses near Miami." Families waited to...
I just want to say that this has something to do with Bitcoin.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah. We'll get there. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but
you don't have to.
You'll get the story. Families waited to hear news about missing loved ones Thursday as rescue efforts continued after a 12-story oceanside condo collapsed into a heap of rubble, leaving residents trapped and at least one person dead. Dozens of people crammed into a room with chairs and blue gym mats on the floor at a reunification site set up by the American Red Cross. Family members and building residents listened to police give updates in anxious silence. Young children slept in blankets. Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett confirmed at least one person died, and Miami-Dade Police Director Alfredo Freddy Ramirez III told families at the reunification center 99 people were unaccounted for. Pablo Rodriguez, 40, a Miami native, said his 64-year-old mother and 88-year-old grandmother lived in the wing that collapsed. Rodriguez told USA Today that he last spoke to his mom Wednesday to discuss the family weekend plans, and on and on. So we have this very unfortunate and horrific building collapse in Miami.
Yes, and there was a story that I think I thought I put it in the additional stories. May have just dropped it altogether, but there was a USA Today report about this that interviewed somebody close by, and they said they heard a loud bang. So
yes, there's certainly been a lot of conspiracy theories flying around about this, and there's video. You watch the videos. There was a CCTV camera that caught the whole thing on video, and people pointing out some interesting like big flashes before the thing fell, noting that it did sort of just collapse, I don't know, in an interesting way. I think they're trying to make maybe a little bit too much of the, like, trying to draw 9/11 conclusions. But, you know, there's people taking a look at it. What are your thoughts? What do you got going on over there?
Well,
you got a whole breakdown, don't you?
Well, just it's a theory, admittedly a theory, but we just saw how ESG and Bitcoin are going to go head to head. You have kind of the globalist New World Order agenda going against the Bitcoin people. Well, we know that El Salvador became the first country in the world to accept Bitcoin as legal tender. According to EuroNews.net, I guess. Yeah, it's .com, but I guess it's EuroNews.next. Headline is Paraguay set to become the second country to make Bitcoin legal tender after El Salvador. And I think the same morning this happened yesterday, they announced that the bill was written, so they're ready to go to make this thing happen. Paraguay set to become second country. So I thought it was very bizarre that according to Channel 8 News WFLA, family of Paraguay's first lady among the missing in Miami condo collapse.
Really?
I don't know, man. I'm not saying that the two are related per se, but very strange that the World
Bank... That is a really weird coincidence.
I know.
That nobody would even think of or catch if you didn't have the broader picture of the Great Reset and the war against cryptocurrency and the battle, the struggle for control over the financial, global financial situation.
And you got to remember, too, the World Bank rejected a loan to El Salvador because they adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. And so now you have...
The war is real.
Oh, it's real. It's real. Yeah. And now you have Paraguay saying, hey, we're going to do it. And First Lady goes missing in a condo collapse that looks, that triggers all of our memories of 9/11. I don't know, man. It's a very strange thing.
Yeah. Now, was it the First Lady or family of the First Lady?
Family. Oh, I guess family of First Lady. Okay.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Yeah.
So family members of the relatives of the First Lady were in the building.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't quite an assassination of the First Lady, but it's certainly a strong message.
Paraguayan Foreign Minister Euclides Acevedo told local media that 6 people from the South American country are still unaccounted for after the collapse. They list the names here. And the children. President Mario Abdo's activities were canceled for Thursday and Friday so that he can be with his wife while she waits for word on the fate of her sister and her family. Paraguay's government announced.
That's more than just relative.
Oh,
her
yeah,
sister wasn't.
Yeah, so
what an interesting building for the sister of the Paraguayan First Lady to be in. Well, seemed like kind of an... What was the nature of this building? It was an apartment building.
It's a condo, yeah.
Yeah, but was it like nice or?
I don't think it was super nice, but I mean, Paraguay is not like the wealthiest nation. They're not like rolling in cash or anything.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see in the following days here what Paraguay will do with Bitcoin. I mean, what if they just suddenly pull out? Then you might think, maybe there was a message sent, or maybe not. Maybe it's just a pure coincidence type thing.
Who said it in the chat? Infinite Reach Ministries said coincidence theory. I think that's fair. I don't know if that was meant as a dig or not, but I think coincidence theory is actually a pretty good name for some of the things we talk about.
Yeah, well, just connecting dots on the board.
It's a first step, because that's really I'm seeing a lot of chatter about McAfee maybe having. Oh, you have some stuff on the McAfee thing.
I don't have stuff, but
just building. Yeah. And this building.
No, I don't know about this building. Are they saying something about the building? Oh,
yeah. So there's chatter that McAfee had something to do with this building, like he was holding evidence or something. I don't know. I haven't really seen anything. I imagine that's probably just some like Reddit posts. Source.
McAfee was seen in Miami in 2016, and a building collapses in Miami.
The timing, of course, is. But if McAfee had evidence in the building, probably destroying the entire building would not be the first way that they would take out the evidence. They'd probably just send in a nice little kill squad or something. But whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the actual evidence. I've just seen the chatter.
Well, those aren't the only. That's not the only coincidence theory we have here.
Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to finish. I forgot my finishing point on that, which was, I don't know about that. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. But there is a reality in which the Bitcoin battle sister of Paraguayan First Lady. Economic messaging type of thing, which has much more large scale implications as far as Bitcoin and the future of finance, the future of currency, than maybe McAfee having something there. It seems like
sure, yeah,
the
I see what you're saying,
McAfee theory is a too easy of a distraction to distract from the WEF plot.
Right.
You just throw out some conspiracy theory jargon, the evidence and McAfee.
It's kind of low-hanging fruit.
Everybody
Meanwhile,
looks at that and ignores the actual reports of the sister of the Paraguayan first lady, who are there adopting Bitcoin, yada yada. It's the evidence I'm looking at is much more solid for the Bitcoin angle.
Well, yeah, coincidence theory. I like coincidence theory. We might have to just start using that a lot and just making it a thing. Because a couple different interesting coincidences yesterday. We'll go back to Biden here. And this is CNN. Biden, we have a deal on infrastructure with bipartisan group of senators. And this is kind of a long article that gets into everything. But the point here, President Joe Biden said Thursday he has agreed to a deal on infrastructure with a bipartisan group of senators after White House officials and the senators had a massive breakthrough the night before in their infrastructure negotiations. Both Republicans and Democratic senators said Wednesday evening there was an agreement reached with White House officials and 10 senators on a bipartisan infrastructure deal. And on Thursday afternoon, Biden said he had signed off on the agreement. Quote, to answer your direct question, we have a deal. He's a game show host.
Yeah.
Deal or no deal? Though hurdles remain, it's unclear if the proposal will have enough support from GOP senators or progressive lawmakers to end up as law. The announced agreement is a significant development that could pave the way for passage of a chunk of Biden's domestic agenda. Quote, we all agree that none of us got all we wanted. I clearly didn't get all I wanted. They gave more than I think maybe what they were planning to give in the first place. My gosh, even reading his quotes is like, oh.
It's sort of a little Trumpian. I made such a great deal. I totally won the deal. They gave more than they wanted. I win. That's the deal.
Quote, but this reminds me of the days when we used to get an awful lot done up in the United States Congress. The president said,
yeah, right. Okay.
Quote, when he was spewing N-words all over the place.
Yeah, yes, when he was talking about how he doesn't want his children growing up in a racial jungle.
Yeah. The president said, quote, bipartisan deals mean compromise. Biden said later in the day that he would not sign the bipartisan infrastructure bill unless the investments he has proposed in his American Families Plan, which Democratic leadership plans on passing through the budget reconciliation process, also ends up on his desk. Quote, if this is the only thing that comes to me, I'm not signing it. It's in tandem. Oh, I thought he said I'm throwing a tantrum. It's in tandem. So anyway, he goes on here. So here's something interesting that I thought was of note. The quote here from another one from Biden. For me, investment in our physical and human infrastructure are inextricably intertwined. Both make us better off and stronger. Now, the bill that was that was passed here, that was signed by Biden, is only the physical infrastructure side. The human infrastructure side is yet to be put together. And that's the one that includes climate change. Climate change is now being, that's going to be pushed under the heading of human infrastructure. So something to keep in mind, because it all ties into the Great Reset. But, we don't have to keep going. This is kind of a long article by CNN.
No, I mean, we get the point. The point is that it's moving forward. I would just like to call attention for everybody to start paying attention. If the infrastructure bill gets passed, I predict that immediately we will see a sharp decline in the amount of hacks and infrastructure problems and things like that. As we've been pointing out, at least the reporting, if not the occurrence of certain infrastructure-related problems, go to bolster his whole campaign for this infrastructure bill. And I think if it passes, then there's no need to keep collapsing buildings and hacking water supplies.
Well, the infrastructure bill, I don't know, though, because as he told us,
I wrote the bill.
And as soon as he did, this is what happened.
Well, an update now on the collapse of a pedestrian bridge over Interstate 295 in D.C., of course, a main way in and out of Maryland. The bridge has now been removed and traffic is once again moving in both directions. It came down yesterday after being struck by a truck there, collapsing onto a number of cars below. Amazingly, no one was hurt here. The highway did reopen around 1 this morning, about 13 hours after it was shut down.
There you go. Northeast D.C. pedestrian bridge collapse. Stop talking.
When have you ever heard a news story? Was this a national news story? What network was this on?
I don't know about the network, but this is Yahoo News. It's the outlet here, the platform that's presenting this story.
Is it mirrored from something? Or
no.
What's the logo on the video? I guess is my question.
Let me refresh real quick because it went on to the next video.
It's CBS 13 WJZ.
Okay, so it's local.
So it's a local CBS channel. Okay. I was going to say, when was the last time you heard on a national level a pedestrian bridge collapsing? That might be the first time in my entire life I've heard of a news reporter read that sort of story, I guess. Again, fits right in with the infrastructure issue.
I know. Biden signs the bill or writes the bill.
I wrote the bill.
And he signs it, and then boom, bridge collapses in D.C. I don't know.
We gotta fix all these pedestrian bridges.
Pay them more.
Or give me more bridges. All right. Well, I got something here from BBC. If you're ready to move on.
BBC.
BBC.com. Your British broadcasting channel. Headline: What is the Great Reset, and how did it get hijacked by conspiracy theories?
We hijacked the Great Reset.
It is
We've
ours.
done it.
We are the captain now. This is our Great Reset. A vague set of proposals from an influential organization has been transformed by online conspiracy theorists into a powerful viral rallying cry. What is the truth behind the Great Reset? Believers spin dark tales.
No, it wasn't Biden talking about it's going to be a dark winter or anything like that. It's just believers. Spinning dark tales. Okay.
Believers. When they refer to believers, what they're referring to is people who believed the material put out by the World Economic Forum in their own words, in their pamphlets and their videos and in mainstream reporting.
Okay.
There is no conspiracy theory with the Great Reset. We're just taking it straight from the source.
I know. Okay. So this article does kind of throw a little bone in that regard. So just continue reading.
Okay, good. Oh, it looks like is this the original Great Reset video or is this not? Oh, it looks newer. All right. Believers spin dark tales about an authoritarian socialist world government run by powerful capitalists and politicians, a secret cabal that is broadcasting its plan around the world. Despite all contradictions in the last sentence. What contradictions?
I think he's trying to, whoever the author is here, is pointing out a socialist world order run by capitalists.
Yeah, so he obviously has never heard of stakeholder capitalism. This is an unread goon who does not pay attention to world affairs. Who is this? There's no name on it. By BBC Monitoring and BBC Reality Check. This author doesn't even put their name on the story. Here we go. Olga Robinson, Cheyenne Sardarzadeh, Jack Goodman, Christopher Giles, Hugo Williams.
It took 5 people to write this article?
5 people.
5 people wrote this article.
Not one of those 5 people have ever heard of stakeholder capitalism, which is a concept, mind you, put out by the same people who put out the Great Reset. Jeez Louise. Despite all the contradictions in the last sentence, this is double-speak mind control, by the way. Thousands online have latched onto this latest reimagining of an old conspiracy theory, updated for the age of COVID. I don't know if I can read this, man. This is infuriating.
Oh,
me.
no. Keep going, buddy.
No.
They throw you a bone. Get to the part where they throw you a bone.
All right. Give me a snack.
But by the way, before you read it, I'm picturing whoever started writing it. And then somebody, one of the 5 probably came in and was like, hey, look at all the documentation here for this thing.
Actually, this is like a real thing.
It's like a real thing. So
I know we need to accomplish the mission of our lizard people overlords, but guys, I think these conspiracy theorists are onto something.
Okay, keep reading.
Like many popular conspiracy theories, this one starts with a grain of fact. In June 2020, the Prince of Wales and the head of the annual Davos Summit launched an initiative calling for the pandemic to be seen as a chance for what they called a great reset of global economy. Great reset is capitalized there, by the way. A flashy launch video, interspersed images of a world in chaos, a dead killer whale, a hurricane, a kangaroo caught in a fire, with a speech by Prince Charles. Quote, "We have an incredible opportunity to create entirely new sustainable industries," the prince said. "The time to act is now." The other founder of the initiative is Professor Klaus Schwab. Whoa, I've never heard of him referred to as Professor Klaus Schwab, head of the World Economic Forum, which organizes an annual summit in a Swiss ski resort for some of the world's wealthiest, most powerful people. He explained the idea behind the Great Reset in an article accompanying the launch. Quote, "The pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world to create a healthier, more equitable, more prosperous future." Buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. There's a Great Reset podcast and even a 280-page book, but the plan is light on specific detail.
No, it's not.
It seriously
it's
is
280 pages of a book. It's not light on specific details.
Professor Schwab does speak about a wealth tax and ending fossil fuel subsidies, but the scope is huge, covering technology, climate change, the future of work, international security, and other themes. And it's difficult to see precisely what the Great Reset might mean in practice. No, it does not.
No, we just reported the ESG bill. That's one way. KPMG reporting that all banks have to comply to ESG or be left behind.
Yeah, okay, these people.
How do they have a job at BBC?
That's what I'm saying. These people need to lose their jobs, not because they disagree with us, but they obviously didn't put in the work to learn about it.
But they didn't read the book either, I bet, because that paragraph right there just screams like bad book report. Oh, no, there's no specific, but it covers some stuff, technology, climate change. I don't know. Come on.
The book was good. I liked the dog. I did not like the part where the dog died at the end.
Yeah.
This lack of clarity this lack of it's making me so mad.
So bad. It's
if
so
we
funny.
do not get to this part you're talking about, I'm going to set my computer on fire. This lack of clarity, combined with the plan being launched by an influential organization, provided fertile ground for conspiracy theories to grow. The proposals, along with the WEF itself, face legitimate criticism from a variety of sources. Conservative political figures and media outlets accuse the organization of pushing for environmental policies that would hurt the economy. There are questions about whether unelected individuals like Mr. Schwab should have the power to lobby so prominently for ideas that could potentially transform the global economy. Potentially.
I know, but that sentence right there and mentioning legitimate criticism, that's a bone. That's a very tiny bone, but it's a bone.
It's true. That is, they do mention legitimate criticism. It's unfortunate that they put it under in bold headline letters.
Giant letters.
Conspiracy theory is born. The Davos meeting is certainly filled with powerful people who have a huge influence on world events. There are also concerns about the impact of technology on civil liberties and jobs. Ooh, I can't wait for you to bring that quote you have. But the real energy online is not about legitimate political questions, discussions about fossil fuels and income equality, but in the shape of a wild and unsubstantiated claims. The term Great Reset has received more than 8 million interactions on Facebook and has been shared more than 2 million times on Twitter since the initiative was launched, according to BBC monitoring research. Among the most popular posts are baseless statements that the Great Reset is a strategic part of a grand conspiracy by the global elite who somehow planned and managed the COVID-19 pandemic. In this narrative, lockdown restrictions were introduced not to curb the spread of the virus, but to deliberately bring about economic collapse and socialist world government, albeit for the benefit of the powerful capitalists. Now, this is funny because they're saying the conspiracy theory is that they created the pandemic, whatever, in the many variations of what that could mean, to deliberately bring about economic collapse, which happened.
Yep.
A socialist world government, which is being proposed, albeit run for the benefit of power capitalists, which is the fact of the matter. They are all, it's all run and for the benefit of powerful capitalists. So they list 3 facts, undeniable, mainstream reported facts, but they call it this conspiracy narrative, etc. The nebulousness of this conspiracy theory means it has found followers amongst anti-vaccine groups, anti-lockdown campaigners, New Age healers, and those on the far right and left. They didn't mention podcasters. Gons, what the heck?
Well, we fall in there somewhere. Maybe we're all the above.
New Age healers. That's us.
Accept that.
Melanie Smith, head of analysis at Graphica, who researches online movements and disinformation, says the rumors are typical of an anti-establishment conspiracy theory. Quote, the most intricate of those typically prove popular with government skeptics from across the political spectrum. In the hands of a diverse group of online activists, the Great Reset has been transformed from a call to encourage people to think about sustainable future. Deep breaths. So in their view, in the author's view, the Great Reset is a call to encourage people to think about a sustainable future, and not a sinister plot against humanity. How did it go viral? Do we care why it went viral? I don't think so.
Not really.
It went viral because it is ludicrous, and people who are reasonably thinking human beings who don't swallow the mind control narrative. It takes maybe 3 seconds of critical thought to come up with the idea that maybe this isn't such a good idea.
Yeah, and they mentioned Justin Trudeau, which is like, yeah, he was part of it, but that wasn't the sort. It wasn't anyway. Go on.
Okay, so it ends like this. I'm skipping to the end. What's next for the Great Reset?
Oh wait, hold on. I have something. No. We got to go through what's the historical background real quick.
Okay.
Just
all right, here we go.
It's not too long.
Most of the narratives being promoted around the Great Reset are not new. Experts say similar ideas about the emergence of a totalitarian world government have been circulating since the 1960s under the umbrella term New World Order, which itself borrows ideas from conspiracy theories of the 18th century. I believe we have a nice little sound clip of
the New World
Order.
Do
we have the actual ISO of Bush talking about the New World Order?
A New World Order. A New World Order.
Hold on, let me play the whole thing because no, here it is.
A new world order can emerge. A new era. A new world order. A new world.
I mean, it's it's
okay. Well, there's
produced,
our
but that's
one. But the New World Order has been expressed by presidents of the United States,
like every world leader for decades. Yeah.
And interesting how they mention here that the New World Order term has been circulating since the 1960s, as if that is evidence that it's nonsense.
That it's nonsense.
Like how does that make it not true just because people have been talking about it for 60 years? Anyways, Great Reset skeptics repackage those ideas, folding in new baseless COVID-era claims, for instance, about how vaccines contain microchips and enslave people.
There you go. They have to build a straw man.
There's the straw man again.
Yep.
It's, quote, adaptability and close ties with the New World Order narrative, Miss Smith says, make it likely that the conspiracy theory will outlast the pandemic. No kidding, because it's outlasted everything for 60 years or more. Microchips, altered DNA, and other false vaccine humors. That's actually great. Humors. Not rumors. Yeah. Humors.
Yeah.
The accidental invention of the Illuminati conspiracy. Oh,
they're just links.
I don't know why
you're reading that.
I thought it was a bullet point list.
Nah.
In a video from January, the WEF acknowledged that the messaging around the Great Reset didn't go quite as planned. That was that great video, the super trendy video they made. In response to questions about whether the discussion had been hijacked by conspiracists, the WEF said in a statement, quote, conspiracy theories replace reason with fantasy. They are a noisy but peripheral part of the public sphere. Quote, we encourage rationally grounded fact-based debate.
So I do want to make debate.
Here, I will say this. There are outlets and people who do more conspiracizing about the Great Reset than is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
We try our very best. We don't need to bring in we don't need to theorize. There is no theorizing that happens when it comes to the Great Reset. All we do, and a lot of people doing similar work, all you have to do is read the official press releases, documents, articles, books, and watch their videos that come directly from the World Economic Forum. You don't need to add anything to realize that it's a bad idea and that it's meant for global control. I mean, it is explicitly for global control, stakeholder capitalism, which is socialist capitalism run by capitalist elites, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I do recognize there are those who take it further, and whether or not they are correct, you don't actually need to add anything to the Great Reset to show that it's a bad idea. Moving on. What's next for the Great Reset? Conspiracy beliefs are also seeping into discussions about the global response to climate change. Mr. Schwab's proposal emphasizes the use of more green public infrastructure projects and greener growth. Ms. Smith says online activists who deny the existence of climate change often engage with the Great Reset theory to, quote, dismiss sustainability and renewable energy initiatives as an elite agenda for control. Interesting thing there is like, climate change can be real and also an initiative for renewable energy and elite agenda control. Like, it can be both things. This is, again, creating a false duopoly in options here, Mrs. Smith. Miss Smith, sorry. Okay. I don't know why I was itching to make a joke about Miss Smith, but I don't need to. Quote, the overlap of those conversations may become stronger as climate issues become even more prominent, she says. Okay, there you go, Gons. That's what the BBC thinks about us crazy conspiracy theorists.
Yep, BBC reality check.
Or people who just don't agree with the BBC.
Yeah, so I, again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I had my nose in COVID-19, The Great Reset, written by Klaus Schwab and another guy here. Mm-hmm. And there's a segment titled The Risk. Hold on, where is it? Page 127. The Risk of Dystopia. There's a section about the whole Great Reset.
This is in the book.
Oh, in the book.
The fourth Industrial Revolution.
No. This is the Great Reset. I'll get to the fourth Industrial Revolution in a moment.
Okay.
But I want to go through this one first. So, the risk of dystopia.
In the words of Klaus Schwab himself, stating the risks of dystopia.
Yep. He says, over the coming months and years, the trade-off between public health benefits and loss of privacy will be carefully weighed, becoming the topic of many animated conversations and heated debates. And he says a few things, blah, blah, blah. Over the last few years, both governments and firms have been using increasingly sophisticated technologies to monitor and sometimes manipulate citizens and employees. Just states it as fact. Yeah. If we are not vigilant, warn the privacy advocates, the pandemic will mark an important watershed in the history of surveillance. And it goes on. He has a lot of references to like fictional stories and classical works.
Because he's an elite sort of professor type.
Yeah. And there's a final paragraph here that I think is good here. Spinoza, the 17th century philosopher who resisted oppressive authority all his life, famously said, "Fear cannot be without hope, nor hope without fear." This is a good guiding principle to conclude this chapter, along with the thought that nothing is inevitable and that we must be symmetrically aware of both good and bad outcomes. Dystopian scenarios are not a fatality. It is true that in the post-pandemic era, personal health and well-being will become a much greater priority for society, which is why the genie of tech surveillance will not be put back into the bottle.
Oh, wow. There you go. It's right in his own words.
He's saying the surveillance is going to go up. And the technology is going to ramp it up even more.
It is complete. And he puts it in the section called Dystopia is Possible.
But it is for those who govern and each of us personally to control and harness the benefits of technology without sacrificing our individual and collective values and freedoms. What? Okay.
Notice how it's values and freedoms and not privacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he does mention privacy, but just going through the table of contents on this thing.
He mentions privacy in the context of absolutely losing it.
He
doesn't say, don't worry, you will have privacy. He says, you will not have privacy, but don't worry, it'll be fine. There's no way to avoid it.
Yeah, so he's got the whole section on economic reset. There's a part there, the fate of the U.S. dollar. Then he talks about societal reset, the return of big government, the return of big government after COVID-19. There's a social contract. There's a geopolitical reset, globalization and nationalization, global governance. You know, that article was talking about there's no global governance happening. There's a chapter on it, a whole section talking about global governance. And then environmental reset, technological reset, micro reset. There's an industry reset. And then there's the individual reset under a subheading, redefining our humanness. Redefining our humanness, Basil.
Redefining humanness, okay.
Yeah, which brings me to the other book that he's written. It's an earlier book, and it's titled I'm trying to pull it up here. The Fourth Industrial Revolution by Klaus Schwab. And, it's more of the same, but a little earlier version. He has all these a list of shifts that happen, and there's a lot. He mentions Bitcoin in there. He mentions 3D printing and all kinds of stuff. But I want to bring attention to the last two. Shift 22, designer beings. Okay? The tipping point. The first human whose genome was directly and deliberately edited is born. And again, this was written like a few years ago, so this has already happened in China. And it'll be connected to the next story we have here in the Waccine section. But it goes on and talks about the Human Genome Project and CRISPR and stuff like that. But here's what's interesting. He lists the positive impacts and the negative impacts. And these aren't warnings. They're not like, hey, this could happen. These are the pros and cons. It's not pros and cons. an option we have. No, it's like, here are the things that are good that's going to happen, and here are the bad things that are going to happen with this. So, positive impact first. Higher agricultural yields thanks to crops and crop treatment, which are more robust, effective, and productive. Thank you, Monsanto. More effective medical therapies. Faster, more accurate, less invasive medical diagnostics. Higher levels of understanding of human impact on nature. Reduced incidence of genetic disease and related suffering. Now, again, a lot of these are pretty... there's a lot of... I don't know. Each one has its own sort of misdirection happening there. But let's look at the negative impacts. Or do you want to...
This is not me signaling you in any way, just keeping you apprised.
I know the time.
It is 2:45.
I know. I see the time.
Okay.
Negative impacts. So this is what he's saying the designer being's shift is going to bring about. The negative things that are going to happen. Risk of interaction between edited plants, animals, human environment, health. Okay. What are we talking about? Is he the days of Noah or up the wazoo?
Don't worry about it, Gons. It's fine.
Okay, here's another one. Exacerbated inequality due to high cost of access to therapies. Okay, the inequality of the access. Okay. Social backlash or rejection of gene editing technologies. Okay, so like the haves and have-nots for the transhuman era. Misuse of genetic data by governments or companies. Okay, this is not a warning. He's saying this is going to happen.
This is not, this might happen. It's, this is going to happen. These are the cons.
The governments and companies will misuse genetic data. And then international disagreements about ethical use of genome editing technologies. Okay. So that's the first one, designer babies. One more here. This is the very last thing, the shift. Neurotechnologies. The tipping point will be when the first human with fully artificial memory implanted is in the brain, was walking around, okay? So the positive impacts, it has, stuff about the disabled people, neurofeedback, the possibility to... The positives all sound very dystopian, by the way. So neurofeedback, the possibility to monitor brain activity in real time, offers countless possibilities to help fight addictions, regulate food behavior, and improve performance ranging from sports to the classroom. Keep that in mind. Sports will come up again. Being able to collect, process, store, and compare large amounts of brain activity-related data allows us to improve diagnosis and treatment efficiency of brain disorders and mental health-related issues. Okay,
It's always about the medical side.
The law will be able to provide customized processing on cases and address responsibility issues in criminal cases in a different fashion rather than in a generic one now. So we're going to read your mind. What was your true intention there, criminal?
Yeah, wow.
The next generation of computers, whose design has been informed by brain science, may reason, predict, and react just like the human cortex, an area of the brain known as the seat of intelligence. Okay. That's the good stuff. The good stuff sounds so dystopian. What about the negative things?
It sounds like he listens to the show, man.
I know.
Does Klaus listen to us?
He might.
Sounds like he's been a long-time listener.
Negative impacts. Brain-based discrimination. Individuals are not just their brains. As such, there is a risk for decisions to be made in a context-independent fashion based only on brain data in fields ranging from the law to HR, consumer behavior, and education. Okay. Fear of what thoughts, dreams, desires to be decrypted, and for privacy to no longer exist. That's a con. So,
it is a con. Not a possible downside. It is a noted con by Klaus Schwab himself.
I'm sure Charles is in on it too.
Yeah.
Our thoughts, dreams, and desires will be hacked. Everybody. Fear of creativity.
That is the
plan. That is the plan. Fear of creativity or the human touch to slowly but surely disappear, mainly carried so far by overselling what brain sciences can do. So, human touch, we don't need it anymore.
Don't need it. Who needs it?
And the big kicker here, blurring the lines between man and machine.
Ooh, that is a known and stated con by Klaus Schwab.
So,
that's right.
So these crazy conspiracy theorists that we are, all we did there was just reading
directly from Klaus Schwab's authorship. Tells us everything we need to know.
Yeah. Anyway, that's disturbing.
It is. Now, before we check in on the Waccine stuff, it must be noted, Gons,
yes,
and I'm coming from theblackvault.com. For the past approximately 180 days, the general public has been anxiously waiting the below report. The Black Vault spoke with the office. The UAP report came out today.
I have, yes, we mentioned that earlier. I have an AP thing here, and I skimmed it while you were doing the other article. And I am just the whole feeling I got was they did this for more funding.
Yeah.
And more surveillance.
The entire report is, we need more money. We need more money. We got to study it more. We need more surveillance. They did just enough to be like, this is real, guys. This is real. But we need more money to look at it more. There's something serious going on here. Give us more money. We'll tell you what it is later.
Yeah, in the AP story, no ET, no answers. Intel report is inconclusive about UFOs. There's a quote here. It's clear that we need to improve our capacity to further analyze remaining UAP observations, even if we accept that there are some limits to our capacity to characterize and understand some of the observances we have, one official said. And then later, it mentions the Department of Defense will, over the next 3 months, develop a new strategy for collecting and tracking information on potential sightings. And then a quote, the quote here, the Defense Department and intelligence community have a lot of work to do before we can actually understand whether these aerial threats present a serious national security concern. That's Marco Rubio. So yeah, this is all one big ruse to get more funding and more surveillance. You know, because think about the Hegelian dialectic here. What's the one criticism people always, like rational people, have of the UFO sightings? Hey, man, we all got cell phones. We all have all this crazy camera technology. Why can't we get better footage?
Yeah.
The DOD's like, that's a great idea to make, get more money.
Give us more money. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So anyway,
All right, let's zoom through some Waccine stuff real quick, because it is Friday. We've got some producers to thank.
Waccine.
A pandemic special.
Coming from studyfinds.org, the headline, groundbreaking superhero vaccine based on Olympic athlete DNA could transform society. Oh, good.
Yeah, this doesn't sound Nazi Ubermensch at all.
Uberman, yeah. Stanford professor says treatment provides body-wide genetic upgrade, long-term protection against heart disease, Alzheimer's, and other health conditions. A groundbreaking superhero vaccine inspired by the DNA code of Olympic athletes could help transform society over the next decade, a top genetic scientist claims. Just a quick dive into that phrase. That the inspired by the DNA code of Olympic athletes
sounds so eugenics.
I know, so the best of us, and even go even further back. The Olympics were sort of a display of man reaching for sort of divine accomplishment. There was very much a religious aspect to the
Greek,
the early Olympics. And so, if you break this sentence down, it's like a groundbreaking superhero vaccine inspired by the DNA code of the gods could help transform society. It's like just Nephilim all the way down. The vaccine would provide lifelong protection against 3 of the top 10 leading causes of death, according to Ewan Ashley, professor of medicine and genetics at Stanford University. The so-called superhero jab could offer simultaneous long-term protection against heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, and liver disease, thanks to advances in genetic engineering. This breakthrough treatment would deliver the blueprint of ideal cells from men. Oh gosh, ideal cells. The blueprint of ideal cells from men and women whose genes are more disease resistant than those of the average person, together with an instruction manual to help the body repair, tweak, and improve its own versions. A single dose could lead to a body-wide genetic upgrade that would cut the risk of premature death in some adults by as much as 50%. When would it be available? They're saying the
2026
clinical trials of individual components are expected to begin 2026. Probably take about 10 years or so. Yeah, will become available within 10 or 15 years.
Hold on, though. Think about this, though. They're calling it a vaccine. So what is it a vaccine against? Inferior genetics.
Yes, well, that's the thing. Because of the mRNA COVID vaccine does not mean what it used to mean. They've changed the definition. Now they can just slap this word vaccine onto any genetic therapy that they ever create, and it's like, yeah, it's a vaccine against not being a perfect human.
I know. Hey, have you guys ever seen the movie Gattaca? Are you just trying to create Gattaca, Mr. Ashley at Stanford?
I think they literally are. Now, let's see here. 20 years from now, Gons, you'll be in your 50s, 58.
Late 50s, yes.
Late 50s. So you might be able to benefit from this Ubermensch serum. This is literally the Captain America serum. Get that Olympic DNA.
That is something interesting to consider because, our generation, we're going to be front line, first people to have the options.
We'll be in the at-risk category.
Yeah.
At risk of not being perfect. Anywho, it goes on and on. It just kind of gives you the usual blah, blah,
An
blah.
An autocorrect vaccine for your genes. An autocorrect.
Yeah, I know.
It was all conditioning. All this text autocorrect was conditioning to accept the machine to fix you.
Well, and it requires you to think of yourself as a machine.
Yeah.
You think of yourself as a computer, and then it's easier to take. Not as a human, because that would give too much import to, your natural DNA and the way you're created. No. You're a computer, so you should be upgraded. If you're not upgraded, you are you're falling out of usefulness. You need the latest gadget. If you got an iPhone 6, get out of here.
Yeah.
You scrub.
I think your alarm is going to go off in a second here, but let's just fly through this next one real quick, and then we'll go into a break, and then
do it.
I may have to finish the show after the break.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I wanna die or be decapacitated. I wanna be vaccinated.
This is sfgate.com. San Francisco to require vaccinations for all city employees.
Oop, there's the alarm. Okay, we've got a half hour until I got to walk out the door.
Yep, let me finish this and we'll go into thanking some people. San Francisco city workers will be required to be vaccinated against the coronavirus when a vaccine receives full federal approval. But I'm just assuming that it's going to be accepted. I'm sure there's a lot of money being exchanged to make that happen. The policy covering 35,000 municipal workers may be the first by any city or county in the U.S. Employees who refuse to get vaccinated and don't get an exemption could be fired, according to the policy posted to the city government's website Wednesday. The 3 COVID-19 vaccines currently available in the U.S. are being dispensed under the emergency authorization by the Food and Drug Administration. We all know this. They are expected to receive full approval in several months. San Francisco city employees will then have 10 weeks to get their shots. San Francisco, a capacity of nearly 9, blah, 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 blah. The vaccination policy for city employees covers a wide range of jobs, but it does not include teachers who are school district employees. Oh, a little way to sneak out of there. Quote, It's really a decision for the health and safety of our employees and our public that we serve, Carol Eisen, San Francisco Director of Human Resources, told SF Chronicle. It's about protecting the city as an employer from what we deem to be unacceptable risk.
What we deem to be unacceptable risk.
And then the one thing I wanted to point out is the exemptions, because I think there was... the policy covering blah, blah, blah. Duncan exemption. Hold on. I thought there was another. They must have updated the website, because in this article it had mentioned that, that's really sneaky that they got rid of it, that the exemptions were of religious or medical. So unless you have that, you're going to be fired if you don't get the jab, if you work for the county or of up there in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's always that. That's what it always is.
I know it's always like that, but I just think it's interesting that it said it before, but they took it out. They don't want the public to be educated on what the...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed what you said
I
there.
think they took that out to... Oh, no, it says it right here. Okay, maybe they didn't take it out. The Department of Fair Employment and Housing issued guidelines in March that set forth a rationale for employees to mandate staff get vaccinated, and that included requiring employees to accommodate those city workers who won't get a vaccine due to religious beliefs or medical reasons, he said. Okay, so there you go. All right, well, that's it.
Okay.
Move out of San Francisco if you work up, especially if you work for the government and you don't want a shot. Get out, I guess. That's that's not advice.
It's your body, their choice.
Your body, your body, their choice.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right. Well, let's take a second, take a little break. Thank some producers.
It's break time! Come on, take a break.
All right, folks, time to take a little break, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, Gons will be taking you through, we'll be checking in on the John McAfee dealio there. Last episode, it was reported live on the show that John McAfee has allegedly hung himself in prison. But there's been a lot of development since then. And then, of course, Gons will be taking us out with a Nephilim update, everybody's favorite segment. But before that, we want to take a second, thank some producers of the show. That's right. I said producers because that's exactly what they are. You may notice, if you're new to the show, no advertisements, no affiliate codes, no super secret, superhuman gene editing supplements, nothing like that, folks. That's because we are on the value for value model. And here's the thing. The value for value model is very simple, and it is part of our quest to disconnect from the global theology that is advertising and the economics behind it. But it's not just economics. You might think of advertising simply as a business model or something like that. But the truth of the matter is, and I won't go into all the details on this episode, but we lay them out episode by episode. The fact of the matter is that advertising, with its roots in mind control, in social engineering, and indeed the occult, has taken over the world and inspired a lot of the worst parts about society. If it wasn't for advertising, there would be no privacy concerns. There would be at least no justification for privacy concerns. There'd be no big data. There'd be no personalized algorithms. There'd be none of that. It would be an entirely different world if advertising was not involved. And advertising, as is a good way, or a viable way, at least, for content creators, independent media people to try to sustain their projects. But unfortunately, it's all controlled by, well, pretty much the most evil companies in the world. You got your Googles, you got your Facebooks, you got your YouTubes. These people are in the business of advertising, and not just the business of advertising, but convincing independent media producers to get hooked into the system. Maybe it's the beast system. Who knows? The system that incentivizes media creators like Gons and I to consider you, dear listener, as a number, as an economic unit, as a commodity to be packed up and sold off to advertising companies for our own personal gain. It's dehumanizing, and it's wrong. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people don't really like being told this. They like their advertisements. They like learning about new products. Most of all, they like having to divest themselves of responsibility when it comes to sustaining pieces of independent media that they appreciate, that they value. They like getting things for free, and who doesn't? Don't blame them for that. But the fact of the matter is that it's not free. You are the product. If you are watching or partaking in a piece of independent media that advertises, you are not the customer of that show. You are the product that is being sold to advertisers. And that's just not how we wanted to live our lives. It didn't feel right. We think it's dehumanizing and an essential part of the dystopian beast system to come. Gons, anything to add to that?
No, you did a pretty good job, and we're short on time. I will say that it is something that keeps us, like you mentioned, ad-free, and in turn, it gives us an opportunity to say whatever's on our mind about whatever topic without any kind of repercussion or any self-censorship. You really are getting raw stuff without worrying about anything. It's very nice for us as content creators to not have to think about it.
No need to please advertisers. No need to stay brand friendly. No corporate incentives to toe some kind of narrative that is being spoon fed to us. And that's why we're on the value for value model, which is awesome because it gives you the opportunity to break away from that system that has such a tight hold on the world and our minds. You can, it's very simple. If you get value out of what we do, we put out the show 3 times a week. We do our very best we can, even when we're short on time. And if you get any value out of what we do, you have the opportunity to raise a rebel fist against the advertising industry and the beast system and join us in sustaining this project. I mean, we'll see. It's a nice little experiment this show has been, and we'll see how long it can go. And we are going to thank some people who have decided to join us in this cause, and they become producers of the show, because that's what it is. If you pay for a piece of media to be produced, you're a producer. That's just definitively the facts of the matter. Okay, Gons, are you ready to thank some people?
Very ready.
Very ready. Here we go. The first way to become a producer of the show is you can head on over to patreon.com/CCNT. There's patreon.com/CCNT. And Gons, we got a couple new producers over there. The first one is Patreon Account of the Year.
Back again.
Back again. Thank you very much, Patreon Account of the Year. Next, we have Enlasted Zingrama.
Yes.
Thank you very much. What a interesting set of syllables. Thank you very much for both of your producerships. Okay, I'm seeing some notes here, Gons. I think this situation you have written out here is long gone, is it not?
It is. It was a few episodes. Ago? Yeah, but I was kind of looking back through it, and I don't know if we properly read some of the notes from these guys.
If we've waited this long, let's wait one more episode so we can get through this. Next up, here's the thing, folks. If you don't like Patreon, that's okay. You don't have to use Patreon. A lot of people don't like Patreon. We support you. That's why we have CanaryCry.Radio.com/support. CanaryCry.Radio.com/support. Woo! That's right. CanaryCry.Radio.com/support is a great way to become a producer. You can read all about the value for value model, read about the roundtable of knights and dames. You can come in, support the show with cryptocurrency. There's also PayPal options. You can come in with a monthly producership. It's a nice set it and forget it if you want to support the show, but not have to think about it so much. But if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and become a producer in any amount you'd like on a one-time basis. And Gons, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
We want to first thank all of the recurring producers, knights and dames, who support the show with your producership. And we don't always mention your name, but we do appreciate it. First up, we need
to change that language a little bit, Gons, because we do always mention their name when they become a producer.
Yes,
we don't go through the list every month, but you do get producership credit. We do mention your name when you become a monthly producer.
Right. Our first producer is the executive producer of episode 355.
Woo!
And they are calling themselves Another Producer.
Okay, just another producer. They should have said another executive producer, but thank you so much, producer. Another producer sends a note here. Gons and Basil, I found your show a while ago, and I love it. The tone, content, quality, and humor is refreshing. Keep fighting the good fight and serving Jesus. Well, thank you very much, another producer, and thank you very much for your generosity as well. We were in a little bit of a pickle this episode, but another producer came in and saved the day. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, another producer. Next up,
I think we have an executive producer jingle we got to play.
Oh, that's right. Hold on. Where is it?
You have now reached executive level.
Oh, yeah.
Sheesh. Thank you very much, executive producer, another producer.
Next up, we have producer James H.
Oh, yeah. And James H. is on a streak. Oh, he gets the whole one.
Oh, fine.
There we go. Thank you very much, producer James H. Coming in 7 episodes in a row.
Okay. Next, we have Sir Sigra the Beast, Knight of the Silent Watch.
There he is. Thank you very much, Sir Sigra. Sends a note. I just had my first 2 patients that developed chest pain shortly after getting their second jab. Please pray for these people and maybe play the I Tried to Tell Ya ISO. Can't wait to watch when I get home. Oh, I got a hiccup at the end of that. Thank you, Sir Sigra. Can't wait for you to watch the show.
I tried to tell you.
That's right. Sir Sigra, one of our Canary Cry medical workers. He's a radiologist, I think.
Very cool. Thank you very much for the producership, Sir Sigra the Beast. And thank you for I always see him on Twitter too. So very cool.
Yes. He stays in touch.
Next up, we have producer Jessica L.
Thank you very much. Producer Jessica L. says, thank you for mentioning David Knight. Love him. Love you guys too. Sincere, huge thanks to you fellas. You are the best.
Thank you. And yeah,
You're the best.
We met David Knight, or at least I did. I met David Knight at a conference. When was this? I think it was the one in Montana a couple of years ago. He's super nice. Him and his wife were fantastic.
I didn't go to the Montana one.
Next, we have producer Aaron J.
Hey, Aaron J is on a streak.
He's on a streak. Oh, what happened? There it is.
Is 7 episodes in a row. Loving the value for value model, just so you know. Also, the streaks idea was a stroke of genius. Thank you. I do have my moments, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. Next up, we have Stefan S.
Stefan S. comes in with 1122. It says here on a note, 11 plus 22 equals 33. First name is pronounced Stefan. Thank you for the pronunciation, producer Stefan.
All right. Next up, we have Malik W.
Malik Dubs. Thank you very much, producer Malik. And note says Genesis 4:4-7, please.
Yeah. Do you have it pulled up?
I didn't have it pulled up. Do you have it pulled up?
I'm pulling it up now. I can do it very quickly.
All
right. Genesis 4:4-7. And Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat portions, and the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell. The Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry?" Oh my gosh,
why are you angry?
The Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry, and why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it." There you go. Genesis 4:4-7.
Thank you very much, producer Malik.
Thank you, producer Malik. Next up, we have Sir Casey, the Shield Knight.
Sir Casey's on a streak, baby. He's at 24 episodes in a row. Incredible. New amount. I'm going to need to take your advice, Gons. I think doing the every 3 episodes up to episode 21 feels right.
Okay.
But I feel like maybe we need to start, like you said, do like a, what was the word?
Exponential
thing. So what do you think the next streak should be at? I was thinking either 27 or 33. I mean, 33 has to be one.
Yeah. If you do 27 and then 33, that's 6 from now. Or no, I'm sorry. 27 is 3 from now.
21 to 27 would be 6.
6 and then 6 again.
More.
Yeah.
So maybe after 21 episode streak, it goes from 3 to 6.
There you go.
That feels right,
That feels about right.
That makes total sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
because time stretches, when you move away from
We've got that time dilation going on. Maybe I'll need to add on the EMP meltdown 21 episode streak. It'll be EMP meltdown time dilation.
There you
That's
go.
when the universe starts moving at a different speed for you. Thank you very much, Sir Casey, on the frontiersman of producership streaks. And thank you very much, because we are learning on how to construct this system because of you, Sir Casey. You may not get an official, new title streak this episode, but you are bringing more value to the show than just the monetary amount. So thank you very much. And he sends a note and says, and there you go. Thank you very much, Sir Casey.
Thank you, Sir Casey. Next up, we have producer Scott K.
Woo! Scott K is on a streak. 17 episodes in a row. Comes in with $7.77, a pocket full of sevens.
So he came in twice. So
For
I
the
don't know
same
if he's
show.
So I don't know if he's trying to rig the system and get a double.
He's got to be sending some sort of message. Yeah, no, you don't get double episode streak. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
But we appreciate the producership.
I think it should. Why not?
No, I think we should have some other name.
Oh, if you double up.
No, see, the problem is then we're going to have people sending in producerships, but just cutting it up into multiple pieces. Scott K., you have asked an important question, and we need to think about it to answer it. But thank you very much for your double producership.
Very good. Very good. I'm going to throw this one in here because it just came in.
Okay.
Producer Christian D.
Thank you very much, producer Christian D.
Thank you. Appreciate that. You made it just in the nick of time.
Nice.
Next up, we have producer Juan E.
And Juan E is now on a streak.
Oh, yeah. I believe he's the Mexican on the Mexican
and the redneck father of the world.
That's just my guess. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like an informed guess. Thank you very much, producer Juan E. He's 2 episodes in a row, coming in with 544.
Interesting number.
Not sure what it means, but it seems specific.
Yep. Next up, we have Tristan H.
Woo! Tristan H. coming in, also on a streak. Tristan H has been coming in 12 episodes in a row here. That means he's walking on the sun.
Might as well be walking on the sun.
Thank you very much. Coming in with 355, the show episode number producership.
Very good. Thank you, Tristan H. Next up, we have producer Kim W.
Kim W is on a streak. 10 episodes in a row, pocket full of threes. Note says Psalm 18:6. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried out to my God. He heard my voice from his temple, and my cry came before him, even to his ears. Please pray as you are led for the West Coast and U.S. concerning the heat wave beginning today and the associated risks to the elderly, those whose homes or apartments do not have air conditioners or easy access to pools or sprinklers, such as low-income urban apartments. Additionally, extreme heat means extreme fire danger. If that's not enough, the National Guard just did a drill simulating a cyber attack that took out the power grid on the whole West Coast and spread nationwide. We have no way to know what might happen in the next few days, but aside from a true miracle, at least a few people will not survive until Tuesday. I plan to send out a group email next week regarding the Northern Oregon, Southern Washington meetup in Estacada. As of right now, it looks like either July 24th or August 7th. Well, thank you very much, Kim W. Definitely everybody keep the West Coast in prayer, and Kim W. knows what she's looking for. She knows what's going on. She's been listening to the show, supporting the show for a long time. And yes, the second you see one of these drills, you know you got to keep an eye out. So.
Yep.
And I do want to give out the email again for Kim W. There's going to be a Canary Cry meetup up in Estacada. That's Northern Oregon, Southern Washington. Email maidservantofchrist88. That's maidservantofchrist88 at protonmail.com. One more time, maidservantofchrist88 at protonmail.com. If you're interested in going to that meetup, and if you're in Northern Oregon, Southern Washington, you want to go on a hike with other Canarians, look for Bigfoot Fellowship, definitely email producer Kim here and get in contact. She's going to be talking to everybody, setting dates and things. Looks like July 4th or August 7th. But email her, get involved.
Very good. Thank you very much, producer Kim. Next up, we have producer Ethan N.
Ethan N is on a streak.
He's on a streak.
That's right. And sent a little note that says 1 Corinthians 1:25.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there right now. For the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men.
Okay, very good. And lastly here, we have producer Laura E. 2 episodes in a row on a streak. Says, God bless y'all from Laura E. Thank you very much, Laura E.
And that's it for the producers for their treasure. Thank you so much for everybody producing episode 355, including those who do timestamps. Episode 354 was timestamped by Rachel C. Thank you very much, producer Rachel.
Thank you.
We have a couple ways you can support the show or produce a show is with your time and talent.
Mm-hmm.
People send in jingles.
We have a new jingle.
And we got one from Matt DLM. And here's this. Hey, Basil and Gons, thought this would be a good jingle to play when you have a clip of Fauci trying to tell us what to do. So there's there's a Rage Against the Machine there. Yeah. And here's another thought this would be a decent jingle to add in whenever there's a story with our freedoms being stripped away and whatnot. That's another Ratum clip. So a couple Rage Against the Machine before they got all woke, by the way. Zach De La Rocha went a little too
pretty
woke.
woke now, aren't they?
Yeah, not excited about that. But yeah, they were all anti-authority, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The most corporate anti-authority band ever, or one of them anyway. Thank you for that, producer Matt DLM. And if we don't get flagged for some stuff, I mean, we don't care because we're on podcasting 2.0 at this point, so doesn't really matter. But of course, at some point they might be able to DCMA us, but we're not too worried about it. Next, so thank you for those, Matt. We want to share some art.
One art, please.
And we have 4 pieces to share with you. The first one is by Ali.
One art, please. One art, please. Another one from Ali now. Here it is.
Woo! Okay, here we go. Oh, this is great. Here's a note. There's going to be some collateral damage. If you want to show how big and strong you are to the Russians, you're going to kill a few dolphins. That's just the nature of war. Oh, this is a quote. I said this last episode. The war games of Putin and Biden, just a couple of boys with their boats and one dead dolphin. I guess Aquaman wasn't able to save this one. This is great. I love this. If you're just listening, we've got Putin on the left. He's looking just gleefully like a little schoolboy. And Biden as well on the right, also looking gleefully, little schoolboy. And they've both got their own very special good ship models in front of them. They both got their little battleships that they built, and they're just looking so proudly at them, showing them off to each other. Just some boys with their boats, proving that, even the elites in power are just still children. And children at heart, how delightful.
And Biden is whispering into Putin's ear.
Pay them more.
Pay those KGB operatives more.
Yeah, this is great. This is just a delightful piece, Ali. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ali.
And I love it when there's, people pull quotes from the show.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll use that for an Instagram post or something.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much,
done.
Producer Ali. Next up, we have one from Producer Dove. Oh, sorry. Let's hit the gong there. I was trying to get to the piece of art here.
Okay.
And there's a note that said, had the idea for this one last week after producer Christine C's Live Forever Industries saga and producers Ali's artwork of Robo Sophia and Robo Grace. I drew up a Flippy fresh off a shift of maiming contract breakers. Mm-hmm. He often takes his mind off the work day by scrolling through his phone. While casually swiping Tinder, he may have finally found his perfect match, a new young nursing robot by the name of Grace. A happy ending after all. Oh, gosh. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins.
Yeah, this is great. It's got some little aspects of Christine C's Live Forever Industries saga. You've got the checkered floor. You've got the Live Forever Industries contract ripped up. And in the top left, you've got the poor cyborg man who's getting decommissioned by the beast system there. But we do have a full screen visual of Robot Flippy holding this phone. He's on Tinder.
He's on Robot Tinder.
He's on Robo Tinder. Of course, he's on Verizon 5G. It's 3:33 p.m. He's got 66% battery left. Love the details. Dove always nails it. And another detail, Gons, he's flipping through Tinder. He's found Nurse Grace, the nurse robot from Hanson Robotics there, and she's looking all cute and teenage. But you'll notice that he just swiped left on dear Sophia. Mm-hmm. Oh, Sophia, the first just creepy humanoid robot to gain citizenship in Dubai or whatever it was. Flippy's not interested, Sophia. Sorry. He's looking for a medical professional. And one with gigantic eyes. This is a great job. You got any other details I missed?
I don't think so. There's blood on Flippy's hand.
Yes. Well, he's been, decommissioning cyborgs. Right.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Very nice.
Thank you very much, Producer Dove. Loving it.
Thank you, Producer Dove. Appreciate it as always. And there were people commenting on the YouTube channel saying they want T-shirts of Dove's artwork.
I know.
Which is
we'll have to work that out. Well, we gotta. There's a few details involved in that, but we are always open to talking to our artists about putting something together if the demand is there.
Very good. So thank you very much, Producer Dove. Next up, we have one from producer Jeff H. And he has a note. It says, "Hey, Basil and Gons, hope you guys are doing well. Here's some random branding satire for you. I like to imagine Trump trying to start some ridiculous post-presidency fence empire with like him and the guy from My Pillow. Mm-hmm. Like he just used the time in office to create a fencing demand at the border, and now his new business is the firm that starts up just in time to conveniently finish out the border wall. Should be an SNL skit."
Yeah, it's true. And what's the name of this producer?
Jeff H.
Jeff H. Jeff H. is obviously a professional graphic artist or designer, because this is incredibly well done. It looks real.
Yeah, like, it does look real.
When he sent it to me, I thought like, oh, why is he sending us like official Trump stuff? I don't get it. But I looked at it closer, and yes, the design on this is incredible as far as, what might actually exist as some sort of campaign graphics. At the top it says, "We've got huge walls of steel." Trump fence established 2021. And of course, a little play on Trump Pence there, but Trump Fence Co. Make America a gated pen, product of Russia. And a little hard to explain, but there's sort of the abstract image of a fence there. And within that, is a T and an F and stripes of an American flag. Really incredible. You could probably pitch this to Trump and go for it. Who knows?
Oh yeah, he might buy it.
You never know. You never know. This would also be a great. This would be a great satire shirt. You know, you put this on a shirt, Trump supporters will be like, "Oh, cool shirt," and they read it more. They're like, "Whoa, really cool shirt." Great job, producer Jeff.
Putin would love it. All right, we got one more piece of art to share, and it's from Josiah G. And the note here: Basil turns introspective after the surgery. If only we would ask more questions before we got cosmetic surgery. And it's just a picture.
It's an image of two elf on a shelves, and one of them has your head on it. The other one's got googly eyes, and we've got the big Chinese elf ear surgery after their latest cosmetic surgery. Gons, does my face look thinner? Yes, we've gotten on the Chinese middle class trend of getting our ears enlarged in this one. Thank you very much, Josiah.
Thank you, Josiah. That's it for the art, and I do want to mention real quick about the meetups. Oh, there it is.
Canary Cry Meetup.
It is happening. Oh boy, where's the? There it is.
Torrance Beach.
Yeah, Torrance Beach at 1 p.m. tomorrow, and as of now, unless I wake up feeling like I can't move or something. SoCal Canary Cry Meetup, 1 p.m. I will be there. I believe Ciara said there's already a few families that have RSVP'd her. So if you would like to join us and you're in the area, email Ciara, ciaralauren93@gmail.com. Go to CanaryCryNewsTalk.com, scroll down on the show notes, and you'll see the flyer and all the information there, along with information for other meetups happening that include one from Kimberly. She's organizing up there. So there you go. Meetups happening.
Go do it. Email Ciara Lauren93. That's CIARALEA. Sorry, CIARALAUREN93@gmail.com to get in touch and show up to that meetup. It's going to be fun.
Very cool.
Gons will be there. There'll be babies. All right, Gons. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to zoom through the ratings and reviews.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to leave. And then
you're going to disappear. You're not going to say bye. You're just going to drop the mic.
Going to disappear mysteriously, and you get to finish out the show.
Okay.
But I do want to read and thank everybody for these ratings and reviews. The reviews are super helpful. Yep. And they, more than just letting people know what to think about the show before they listen to it, more than just fun content for me to read on the show, it activates the algorithms on the podcast platforms to share the show with people who have never heard it before. We set a quota for 5 reviews this week, and you nailed it. Thank you very much, everybody, for doing that. So here we go. The first review starts with Colleen AA in the United States. 5 stars. Just do it. I've been listening to Basil and Gons for years now. They introduced me to Christian Fringe commentary, and I've never been the same. I should know how great they are since I am a part of the elite group of program producers. So you can definitely trust me. They really make a great team and approach relevant topics with the Christian worldview. Their humor is a must in the times we live. I've not heard a show that didn't cause me to laugh out loud. Enjoy. Wonderful review. Thank you very much, Colleen AA. Next up, we have Fishdomland 70. Fishdomland, thank you very much. And this is from Great Britain. This is on the Great Britain feed.
Okay.
5 stars, says, brilliant. Absolutely love this podcast. Truth, fun, and Jesus all in one.
All right.
Thank you very much, Fishdomland 70.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Giants Bane 16. Giants Bane. Nice. 5 stars. Invaluable information for believers living in this fallen world. Gentlemen, I sincerely want to thank you for what you do. I've been saved since I was a small boy, but have only had the scales removed from my eyes over the last few years. In that time, I have sought out like-minded brothers and sisters that comforted me in the knowledge that I was not the only one to hold our worldview. I have followed and learned much from different people over the years, but you guys are genuinely the best of all those I have found during my search.
Whoa.
Wow. Thank you. You approach every discussion from a biblical perspective. You are not afraid to have the tough conversations about any topic, no matter how taboo it may be considered. You are not afraid to express your genuine opinions on matters, even if that opinion may be considered inflammatory to some. Yeah, that happens sometimes. And in some cases, leave you standing alone. Yes, that also happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But thank you for,
all too
for
familiar.
recognizing that. However, we know that we are never truly alone, as the Lord Jesus is always with us. And in that knowledge, you break from the herd and willingly stand as watchmen on the wall despite the risks and condemnation from the outside world. For this and for everything you do, sincerely thank you both, and may God bless you and Canary Cry News Talk so that you'll never be cast completely from the airwaves, because in this fallen world, we need you now more than ever. Thank you very much, Giants Bane 16. That's a lovely note.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Next, we have a review from Redneck what? Here it is. Redneck Aviator, I think is how that is spelled. Redneck Aviator in the U.S. here. 5 stars. Great show about current events. I've been listening to these guys for a few years now. I have no complaints.
Whoa.
Only praise and a few recommendations. Firstly, stop picking your noses. Secondly, stop picking each other's noses. It makes for bad radio. Gons. Thirdly,
I can't even find your nose. What are you... Okay.
Yeah. Thirdly, you shouldn't thank your producers for their contributions. They're producers just doing their jobs, and it takes up airtime. Fourthly, no other show has ever had technical issues, ever. So let's tighten it up, boys. Fifthly, the Earth is a pyramid. Anyone who has flown a plane knows that. Sixthly, Basil should be replaced with a wooden nickel for an icon when he's remote and not in his VR helmet. Seventhly, never demonstrate sarcasm. Your audience is too dumb and we take ourselves too seriously. There you go. Shots fired. Thank you very much, Redneck Aviator. Funny, very funny. Did you get those notes? Or well, I think we should take the opportunity to say we love constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Redneck, I keep wanting to say Redneck Caviar, but it's Redneck Aviator. We're going to take all those suggestions to heart. Thank you for bringing up your concerns.
Yeah, so we'll stop thanking our producers. We'll say, keep at it.
Just good. Yeah.
You can't be positive. You just got to tell them.
But we should also never demonstrate sarcasm, Gone. So careful.
Wow,
careful.
Man, that's tough. That's a rough.
I know.
Puts you between a rock and a hard place there.
It's hard to do. Thank you very much, Redneck Aviator. Next, we have our last 5-star review here from Blessed 37 Ways. Ooh, that's a lot of ways. Blessed 37 Ways says, my favorite podcast. My husband and I love your podcast, and we listen to every episode. Shout out to any other Alabamian Canary Cry listeners. Ooh, there you go. One little shout out there. Thank you, Alabamian listeners, for being here, and a shout out from Blessed 37 Ways.
I've been to Alabama.
You have?
I have.
I'm now realizing I did drive through once.
Oh, I was
spent a lot of time.
I was recruited to Auburn University, so I visited Auburn.
Oh, yeah. To swim?
Yeah.
Do they have pools there?
Oh, come on. You're going to offend our Blessed 37 Ways.
Just asking. I don't know.
Yes, they have.
I'm not using sarcasm. Sarcasm confuses people. No, thank you very much, Blessed 37 Ways. And shout out to any other Alabamian Canary Cry listeners. Sounds like there might be an Alabama meetup that needs to happen.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
All right.
Do you not see the one from Maggie May? Or are you going to save that one?
I do not see one from Maggie May.
Oh, okay. I see it here. You want me to do it?
Yeah, what is it on Apple Podcasts?
Yep. Maggie May 27.
Let me reload the Chartable. That is weird. Usually it shows up at the chart. Oh, there's a little bit of a lag. Yeah, okay. What is it?
Maggie May 27. Awesome podcast. 5 stars. I have listened to these guys for several years since the first or second episode. I've always listened while working. In the early days, I would listen to their 30-minute shows. Sad that I had another 39 hours and 30 minutes of work to suffer through before I could listen again. Now, I finally have a significantly less miserable job, and I get to enjoy much longer and more frequent episodes. It's a win all over the place. Their goofy antics bring some much-needed joy to the apocalypse. I hope they never try to reach perfection with setting up drops, in air quotes. Or not air quotes, actual quotes. In parentheses, their jingles and ISOs. And the searching is always comedic. And I hope I never have to stop hearing any catchphrases that, when you hear them said by somebody else, you flash back to some incredible story and commentary that make you grin like some sort of inside joke. No. They're fantastic the way they are, and they show a love for Jesus in the most unpushy kind of way. So, all right.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you very much, Maggie. What a wonderful, I kind of like the ongoing conversation happening in the reviews. You kind of need to have been listening since last Friday to understand a lot of this back and forth, but there you go. It's some constructive criticism going on for all sorts of people here. Okay, that is it. We did it. We nailed it. We hit the quota. I think that was 6 reviews this week. I'm kind of nervous, Gonz, if I'm going to be vulnerable and honest with you. I can't believe we've actually hit that quota 2 weeks in a row. And I'm kind of scared to set another quota for next week. I'm afraid, but we have to do it.
Just keep it the same number.
I'm going to keep it the same. I'm not going to raise it. So this is a great pace. 5 reviews and ratings a week. Guys, I'm looking at the charts here. Like usually we would get like 2, 3, or 4 maybe on a really good week. But you guys have been nailing it and delivering, and we're truly so grateful, and it's showing in the charts. We are now, because of your ratings and reviews, pushing the algorithms over the edge. I mean, we're in top 100 around in all of our charted countries. It would be faster to name the countries we are not top 100 in. So I'm not going to go through the charts today because I do need to leave. I'm already late. So I'm going to go. But thank you to everyone who is doing ratings and reviews. It really helps out the show and truly in a tangible way. And you guys are the best. We're setting another quota. We're five reviews by next Friday. So if you haven't done it, join the club. Leave ratings and reviews. If you own an iPhone, just search podcast and on your phone. Any Apple product has Apple Podcasts on it. Just search for Apple Podcasts. It's a little purple icon. Go in there, search Canary Cry News Talk first, subscribe, and then leave a rating and a review. Or you can just search Apple Podcasts Canary Cry News Talk on your internet browser, and that should lead you there if you're an internet sleuth. But do it. Thank you very much. Let's keep it going. It's having an incredible effect on the show. And I have to read whatever you write, no matter what. So it's the easiest way to get me to say whatever you want me to say. All right. Is that it, Gonz?
I think that's it.
Are you ready to wake up?
Yeah, I'm ready to wake up.
Now here's...
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, here's the thing. You're sleeping so soundly and you're about to wake up. But when you wake up, Basil will be gone.
Okay. By the way, I'm going to send you a message.
Okay.
And, yeah, just look for that.
I will.
All right.
Okie dokie. Hey, let's wake on up.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Okay, we are gonna... Oh, is he gone? No, he's still there. No, he's gone. He's disappeared. All right, well, it's just us now. I feel lonely. It's very lonely. All right, we had a couple stories to wrap up the show with, and this one had to do with with money and all sorts of stuff. And I chose money as the theme here of the story because it has to do with John McAfee. CNN.com, John McAfee found dead in Spanish prison after his extradition to the U.S. was approved. And I know everybody was talking about it the last couple days. In case you hadn't heard about it, here's a few paragraphs from the story. John McAfee, the controversial antivirus software magnate who'd had multiple recent run-ins with the U.S. law, has died at 75. McAfee was awaiting extradition in a Spanish prison after being charged with tax evasion in the United States last year. McAfee was found dead in his cell in a prison near Barcelona on Wednesday around 1 p.m. Eastern, and a medical examiner went to the scene. A spokeswoman for the Superior Court of Catalonia told CNN. She said the cause of death is under investigation. A statement from the Catalonia Regional Government Justice Department, which manages prisons there, said that prison medical personnel and guards attempted to perform life-saving procedures after fighting McAfee, but were unsuccessful. The statement said, quote, "Everything indicates that McAfee could have died by suicide." That's kind of interesting. He could have died. Everything indicates that he could have died by suicide. I don't know. It just seems kind of wordy. The thing that I found interesting, and I pointed this out on Twitter already, and many have pointed this out. There's a lot of theories about what happened to McAfee, and he was definitely one of those guys that was outspoken. He had some interesting hobbies that we won't discuss on this show, but there's some documentaries about what he was allegedly into privately, which is kind of gross, but this is what I pointed out. This is John McAfee's Twitter on October 15th, 2020. This is, I think, after he was arrested in Spain. Let me double check that, actually. Make sure I have the information right about when he got arrested in Spain. Thought it mentioned it here. Well, all right, it doesn't mention it in this article. But he said in a tweet, "I am content in here. I have friends. The food is good. All is well. Know that if I hang myself a la Epstein, it will be no fault of mine." And, of course, Yahoo News published the headline, U.S. software mogul John McAfee dies by hanging in Spanish prison, lawyer says. So the lawyer is suggesting that John McAfee died by hanging, even though this CNN article says that everything indicates that he could have died by suicide. I don't know. It's just a very strange series of things here that I don't get it. I don't understand. Other than the speculation here that maybe something else was going on, maybe he was killed. And that's where a lot of people jumped on the conspiracy theories about, hey, did he have some info on people that didn't want to be exposed? Was he part of the network? And he had, because McAfee, even though the McAfee antivirus company, the software, the antivirus company, doesn't have anything to do with him now, it's possible that he has some capabilities in terms of accessing people's computers and whatnot with viruses. If you're an antivirus company, you tend to have a good knowledge of how viruses work. And of course, even when a lot of this stuff first came out, and I think it was like the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, there were a lot of people even back then saying like maybe McAfee created the viruses themselves or himself to create the antivirus product. So, it's always possible that he's just a genius hacker that, will figure out a way to capitalize on the growing industry of modern computers going into the homes of pretty much everybody across the world, especially in the United States. And so, there's a lot of theories again about why he would be taken out. He had some interesting views about privacy. I mean, he was very he was very outspoken about privacy. He was pro privacy, and I actually made a video. I think it was in 2018, and everybody was publishing their interview with John McAfee in the last few days. So I didn't actually interview him, but I did make a video that was titled "Prophetic Warning from John McAfee" with question marks. And he was talking about blockchain technology and how it's going to change the world, and how everything is going to be recorded on the blockchain, and how it has a very powerful liberating quality, but also warning the public that if this gets into the wrong hands, if some individual decides to take hold of the blockchain in a way that is not good, then it is pretty much the entire enslavement of mankind, because everything's going to go on the blockchain. All the information that we have financially, our internet data, where we are, all kinds of stuff, the transparency of everything. And I think that's, on theme with everything we've talked about on this episode and a lot of episodes about the Great Reset and resetting the infrastructure, the ESG initiatives, the Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development. All of it has to do with creating transparency so that you are able to not trust institutions, but just verify that they're telling the truth. And everybody could do it. It's like a big audit. And I make the point in this video that it's fascinating when you start looking at blockchain and how everything is going to be recorded on the blockchain. It's an immutable ledger. And for those who don't know how blockchain works, I won't get into it in detail, but basically it's multiple computers verifying a transaction. And so you can't cheat it. Once it's recorded on the blockchain and all the computers agree to it, it can't be changed. And then that information gets locked in a block, and then a new block is formed. And so it creates a chain of blocks with data that cannot be changed. And that data is accessible depending on what protocol. So for Bitcoin, every transaction ever made on Bitcoin is publicly available. You can go on the Block Explorer and click around and look at all the transactions happening. The anonymous nature of Bitcoin, though, is that you don't know who is making those transactions unless they publicize themselves to be associated with one of the wallets or one of the addresses. So the prophetic aspect of that is that when you talk about nobody can buy or sell, Revelation 13, without a mark, it really does start to sound like, oh, there's going to be a total surveillance society where, me and Basil can't buy or sell from each other unless we are part of the system. We can't just be like, hey, I'll meet you in the woods and let me buy some salt off of you and I'll sell you some fish or whatever it is. That's not going to happen. I don't think people think it through the level of surveillance that Revelation 13 and the Mark of the Beast implies. It is quite substantial, because if you can't buy or sell without the mark, who's monitoring all the other people who don't have the mark? Well, it's going to be a massive surveillance apparatus. And that's why all the stuff we talked about today with Klaus Schwab and all of his, privacy's dead, surveillance apparatus, the genie of surveillance tech is not going to go back in the bottle. It's all troubling because it's moving in that direction. But keep in mind, and I make this point in the video, that all that's doing is trying to mimic God. And, there is an immutable ledger of all of our activities. And the only ledger that I'm interested in is the book of life. If your name's in the book of life, you're good. But if your name is not in the book of life, not good, right? So it's fascinating, the concept of the omnipotence and omnipresence of God, that he knows everything. And it's just interesting how this technology that we are building is mimicking who God is and what his qualities are. And that's why, there's a good and a bad side to the technology that we're building. And under the wrong hands, it's not good. And prophetically speaking, in Revelation 13, it's going to fall into the wrong hands eventually. And John McAfee warns about that. Now, John McAfee, I don't believe he is a Christian. And you know, I to be honest, I don't know if he's truly dead either, given the situation with this story. But if he sees that there's a problem, if one entity or one man takes over this ledger of every transaction, you know, it's just wild to me that this guy who just understands the technology sees something that John on the island of Patmos saw 2,000 years ago and wrote down in the book of Revelation there. So, yeah, just a kind of side tangent and into, you know, some of the things I've done or talked about with John McAfee, and you know, people are spinning up all kinds of crazy and wild conspiracy theories surrounding this guy, but there's no real way to know exactly what, you know, what purpose. It could have been just an exit strategy, just to say, hey, look, I'm done, I'm going into hiding. But he was kind of doing that already, so it is possible that he was just taken out, and because of some of the plans of what they're going to do with all things, not just blockchain, but just part of this great reset thing. But I do want to bring this article in tangent to that. This is HindustanTimes.com. And the headline here is, after John McAfee's death, Edward Snowden has a warning for Julian Assange. It's like all these tech martyrs. It's very interesting that we have these people that are supposed to represent freedom on the run. And they all, you know, speak up when things like this happen. So real briefly here, U.S. whistleblower Edward Snowden has warned WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange after antiviral mogul John McAfee died by apparent suicide in a Barcelona prison following news that he was being extradited to the United States on tax evasion charges. Edward Snowden, the former NSA consultant and data privacy advocate, has tweeted that Julian Assange, quote, could be next. What does Edward Snowden know? Why is he warning Julian Assange? Quote, Europe should not extradite those accused of non-violent crimes to a court system so unfair and prison system so cruel that native-born defendants would rather die than become subject to it, Julian Assange could be next, Edward Snowden tweeted on Wednesday. Until the system is reformed, a moratorium should remain. I wonder if this is going to cause some kind of more, you know, protests and kind of a natural uprising in the European countries, because that's kind of what Snowden is stirring here. And again, you know, conforming to some of my biases and views about these issues, he is basically, Snowden is basically affirming the narrative that he committed suicide to make his point. And that to me is a little bit suspicious, you know, because he's basically saying, you know, what he said here about, oh, you'd rather die than be part, you know, be subject to the system that is unfair and cruel. I don't know. This is a very strange way to get people to rise up and have transparency come to, you know, the European court system or the U.S. court system. In his last public tweet on June 18th, John McAfee wrote, all power corrupts. Take care which powers you allow a democracy to wield. Javier Villalba, the 75-year-old McAfee's lawyer, said the antivirus software pioneer died by hanging as his 9 months in prison brought him to despair. McAfee said during a court hearing last month that given his age, he would spend the rest of his life in jail if convicted in the U.S. Quote, I'm hoping that the Spanish court will see the injustice of this. The U.S. wants to use me as an example, he said. And then it gets into some stuff about Julian Assange, which most of you probably know. So there you go. You know, I just have this skeptical mindset when I see stuff like this and wonder if there's already a narrative being peddled out there that some of this information is meant to spin up more revolutionary movements to tear down the old system, because you can't have a great reset unless the old system is exposed and the public really get on board with it. So there you go. I was going to drop this next story, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because we're not limited on time per se, with Basil running off to an appointment he had. And it has to do with money, but it also has a little interesting side note that has to do with Bill Gates. And this is CNBC.com. Warren Buffett gives away another $4.1 billion, resigns as trustee at Gates Foundation. It says here, Warren Buffett said Wednesday he will donate $4.1 billion worth of Berkshire Hathaway shares to five foundations, and that he will resign as the trustee at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This year's donation marks the halfway point for the 90-year-old Oracle of Omaha, who in 2006 pledged to give away all of his Berkshire shares through annual gifts to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation, Sherwood Foundation, Howard G. Buffett Foundation, and Novo Foundation. Back then, Buffett owned 474,998 Berkshire A shares. Today, he said he owns 238,624, worth about $100 billion. Man, $100 billion. Yeah, I don't know. In my opinion, you don't get to this level without hurting people. Let's leave it at that. Today is a milestone for me, Buffett said in a statement. In 2006, I pledged to distribute all my Berkshire Hathaway shares, more than 99% of my net worth, to philanthropy. With today's $4.1 billion distribution, I'm halfway there. Buffett's resignation as Gates Foundation trustee comes as the charitable organization faces a tumultuous time with the divorce of its two founders. Quote, for years I've been a trustee, and an inactive trustee at that, of only one recipient of my funds, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, BMG. I am now resigning from that post, just as I have done at all corporate boards other than Berkshire's, Buffett said. The CEO of BMG is Mark Sussman, an outstanding recent selection who has my full support. My goals are 100% in sync with those of the foundation, and my physical participation is in no way needed to achieve these goals. Bill Gates' co-founder and former CEO of Microsoft and his wife Melinda Gates announced the divorce, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's saying all the right things here to kind of tame or make tame the deal here. But again, I'm wondering if there's more exposing that is going to take place as a controlled teardown. It's a controlled demolition of society is what we're in here. And that's what the Great Reset is all about too, is tear it all down, build it back up the way they want. And part of it is seeing people like Warren Buffett resigning as trustee at Gates Foundation. These guys, these like high-level VC types, they don't do anything without information, like lots of information. So he's got to know something. Something's going to happen to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. More is going to come out about Bill's ties to Epstein, I bet. And, it'll just be interesting to watch. And as a side note here, Warren Buffett is still investing in stuff. And this is just an example of, watching what people do, not what they say. CNBC.com from earlier this month in June, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway makes $500 million investment in Brazilian digital bank. Now, Warren Buffett is famous for calling Bitcoin rat poison squared. That was his description of Bitcoin. And now he has funded $500 million into a Brazilian digital bank. I think it's called Nubank. I wonder if this article mentions it. I'm surprised it doesn't. Oh, there it is. Nubank. Yep. Nubank. And Nubank announced recently that they are going to make available Bitcoin ETFs, electronic transfer funds, I think. So basically a Bitcoin product. So now, even though, Warren Buffett said Bitcoin is rat poison squared, he's investing in a bank in Brazil, South America, that is offering a Bitcoin product. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's, again, an example of watch what they do, not what they say. Because a lot of times these financial guys, all they do is misdirection. All they do is lie. So that's why, again, when he talks about like, oh, there's no need for me to be at the Gates Foundation, he's making it sound all innocent. But in reality, I'm sure there is stuff he was apprised to in terms of what the Bill and Gates Foundation is about to go through. And, even the narrative, and I say this as speculation, this is clearly speculation on my part, I want to be clear about that. Even the exposure of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation being responsible for COVID-19 and the whole pandemic, because clearly they had their hand in it, they had their money in it, they had, everybody has talked about it. It's obvious to most people at this point who pay attention. But most people don't think there's going to be any repercussions, right? But if there are, think about what it means and, careful what you ask for in terms of people like us who are well aware that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, still offered money to all kinds of places, not just Wuhan directly, the Wuhan virology or immunology lab or whatever. Because, again, while people like us or people that are conspiracy theorists start to cheer about this possibility of the Gates Foundation falling apart and saying, yeah, they deserve that because they caused the pandemic, all that, what we have to realize is that, the elite, the controllers, they probably have a plan in place to replace it already. And they're moving forward with that already. And that's probably what all this ESG, Agenda 2030, Great Reset, all of that has to do with this stuff. Because, once they apply the ESG to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who knows what we're going to find in terms of, whatever they want to use, social justice reasons or climate change reasons. And Bill Gates has been on top of it for a long time. We want to block out the sun, and he owns all this farmland in the U.S., the most farmland in the U.S. of all the billionaires out there. So, it's just be careful what you ask for. Is all I'm saying. I'm not defending them. All I'm saying is that the takedown is an opportunity for more loss of privacy, more loss of freedom for the common citizen. And so it's just one of those issues where it is what it is. It's prophetic. And there's not much we can do to change any of that stuff. But something to keep an eye on. Okay, one last story before we call it a day, and that is going to be a Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update. And today's Nephilim update comes from popsugar.com. And the headline here is, make sure my daughter is not walking into the room right at this moment, because it's not a great headline. What the F is Netflix Sexy Beasts, and why are we so invested? Chat, raise of hands. Who's invested in the show, the Netflix show Sexy Beasts? Anybody? Anyone in there? Okay, let's see what they say here. With shows like Too Hot to Handle and Love Island dominating the dating show games, it seemed like it was only a matter of time before someone would come along to flip the script. Enter Netflix Sexy Beasts in its pursuit of making romance connections based on someone's personality, not their looks. Sure, Love is Blind has some similar premise about personal connections over attraction, but Sexy Beasts is taking things to an entirely new level with the help of some wild special effects makeup. Guess they want people to take, quote, "it's the inside that counts," literally. Yeah, I don't really care about the show. Basically, okay, it's a slideshow. All right. Based on the 2014 British series of the same name, the point of Sexy Beasts is for contestants to find love based on personality instead of looks. To achieve this, contestants are fitted with prosthetics and makeup to look like various mythical and real-life beasts. With comedian Rob Delaney as narrator, we're not sure whether we'll laugh, cry, or cringe at the contestants' expense. Okay. I'm gonna remember this is like a promo of the show, so it's not gonna give us like a great breakdown or anything. Is it gonna take me to the next slide or no? It doesn't want to take me to the next slide. But I think we get it here. We've been on the track of, there are a lot of hybrids being pushed out there with Sweet Tooth and just the news about even with the COVID news with using human DNA and mouse DNA and stuff like that, and the conditioning of the public to get used to hybrids or like humanoid animals or beasts. And this very much, again, Bible seems to know what it's talking about. Jesus seems to know what he was talking about. In Matthew 24, when he said, "As it were in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man." And what was it like in the days of Noah? Apparently, some beasts walking around, Nephilim, crossbreed hybrids, human hybrids with alleged celestial beings or divine beings, the Watchers. But we also read in, I believe it's the book of Jasher, that they mixed animals. I think they even talk about plants. And it is the foundation of a lot of Greek mythology. And, it's our mythology is littered with hybrid entities and strange creatures. And I don't know, they're just conditioning us to accept it. And, I don't like this, even moving away from like the biblical and prophetic stuff, which is, I know most of you still here are aware of. Part of I don't know, love connection or like dating someone. I get it. This is a TV show. You got to have like an angle, a spin to it. But part of, and then this is like the closest thing you'll get to like relationship advice on the show. But part of it is it's not all about personality and it's not all about looks, and it's a little bit of both. And it's almost like you have to have, with relationships, there's this attraction that takes place, and sometimes the personalities and everything that you get to know over time, they make the person's, I'm going to, in a shallow way here, their appearance, whatever flaws they have, I'm not saying that in a negative way, it makes it more endearing. You almost become more attracted to that. So the way they're making this show about, like, it's all about your inside, it's not about the way you look, it is kind of misleading, and it is kind of like, okay, well, now I've fallen in love with an eagle lady, or like I've fallen in love with the turtle man or something. They're going to associate the attraction to a physically shaped beast lady or whatever. And you know what I mean? It's conditioning the minds to accept this weird hybrid world that I think we're already in. But they need to really push it out there now to accept it. They need visuals for people to accept it, because once the whole, once they present themselves, it's not going to be easy for a lot of people. But the crowd that's watched Netflix since they're children, they're going to be like, yeah, we've been seeing this stuff on TV forever, you know? And I mean, think about robots. Robots is a really good example of this because there weren't robots moving or walking around or floating around or flipping burgers or whatever 30, 40, 50 years ago. There just wasn't. There wasn't robots carrying pizza across the street in the bike lane. But think about all the TV shows and movies. When I was growing up, it was Small Wonder. I remember watching Small Wonder. And I love the movie Short Circuit, Johnny Number 5. You know, and so for our generation, seeing a robot is like, of course, we've been seeing robots our whole lives on TV. And now here they are, you know, in the real world. So if we follow that pattern of predictive programming and then, you know, reality, this next iteration, this next phase of that process is not just transhuman, it's going to be like beast human. So, in any case, I can ramble on and on about that, but I won't. I will spare you all. Don't think there's anything else to mention here. I will say that there was a lot of stories that I had to drop today because I knew Basil was going to be limited in his time. So there are, let's see, I don't know, maybe like 15 extra stories in the additional stories section. Oh yeah, people in the chat, you know, mentioning Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, and oh, you know what? That reminds me. Let me just free reign. Don't give me free reign. I'm just going to ramble on and on. I do want to show this because it is relevant to this discussion. I tweeted this out as well. Let's see, where is it? Ah, here it is. Okay, so I said in a tweet here, the last couple Disney features have had shape-shifting main characters. In Raya, the dragon Sisu takes on human form. And here's the clip from that.
I just shape changed into people.
Dragons can do that?
There you go. So she shape changed, not shape shift. She shape changed from dragon into a human form. The dragon Sisu in the movie Raya. And more recently in the show Luca, or it's not a show, it's a movie, Luca, a fish monster. There's all these like anthropomorphic fish monsters that live in the ocean. And when they come to the surface, their scales turn into, or just kind of go away, disappear, and they have like these human skin. He turns Luca, or in all these characters from these sea monsters, they basically turn into humanoids, or not humanoids, but like human form. And you know, it's just one of those things that makes me think like, yeah, you know, these like entities that are out there, people have encountered them, you know, it's all sort of passed off or dismissed as mythology or fables or something else. Their ability to appear human, not surprising. You know, the Bible mentions how angels can appear human. You might be entertaining angels unaware, right? And I like Chuck Missler's take on that. I remember him talking about the Bible doesn't necessarily clarify if the encounter with an angel is a good angel or a bad angel. So in that same regard, you know, how do we know? How do we know that these otherworldly entities can't present themselves as human, and probably have been for, you know, the whole time, the whole time. Reminds me of that clip of some news anchor that like hissed at the guest. People, it went viral, you know, because it made it sound like he was a reptile. But anyway, that's about all I have. Anybody else in the chat have something to say? Not much going on. All right, well, there you go. That's a show, folks. Episode 355. We appreciate all of you guys for being here. Thank you for all the producers. And if you joined late, Basil just had to bail at the after the break, after the producer party, because he had some prior commitments. And yeah, they were important commitments. I think he would have been in trouble if he didn't make them in time. So there you go. What's all the stuff he has? I need like a drop of him just mentioning all the stuff that he does, from the hip. Let's see. Oh yes, CanaryCry.Party. Make sure to visit CanaryCry.Party. It's our link tree. We have all kinds of links at that domain there. Let me see. I'm just going to pull it up and show it so people can see. You got the become a producer wiggly thing. You can subscribe to the podcast. Join the mailing list. Please do that, especially if you're watching on the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. Join the mailing list so we can keep in touch. And because I really think it's a matter of time. YouTube channel is one strike away from being deleted. I saw some comments of people saying, stop publishing on the YouTube channel so we can sustain it and keep it and, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. That is an idea, but it won't matter. The thing is, for the people that are saying that, like, hey, stop publishing on the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel so they won't take it down. It doesn't matter because the strikes that come in are retroactive. It's not them going, oh, you just published a video on Fauci and you will not speak ill of Lord Fauci. It's not like that. They go back and take stuff down from years ago. In this last round, there was a word of encouragement video from 2016 that was flagged for violations of cyberbullying. There's a Bible verse commentary on Matthew 10 verse 26. And they were like, nope, that's cyberbullying. And I got a strike for it. That was strike number 2. So it doesn't matter. So we're just going to keep publishing it, trying to let everybody know that the only way to stay in touch beyond YouTube is through something like the link tree, CanaryCry.Party, or and sign up for the email list, or sign up to these other platforms that we have going on: Twitch, Odyssey, DLive, Rumble. We do have a second Canary Cry News Talk YouTube channel. There's nothing on there yet. We just created it as a backup. Looks like 240 subs so far, so thank you for all those people who have done that. And what was I doing? Yeah, I think that's it. Let's see. Meetup tomorrow. It's the 1945 United Nations Charter signed day. Great. Next episode will be Monday, June 28th. And it'll be episode 356. And we're going to need producers for that one. So we appreciate all those producers that are consistently contributing to the show, whether it be with your time, talent, or treasure. And man, this is why I have Basil Partly, because I just keep rambling on and on and on. I need a co-host to be like, okay, stop talking so we can end the show. CanaryCryNewsTalk.com for all the show notes. And again, I have a ton of extra stories that we didn't cover today. Atlanta 3-year-old part of a test for COVID-19 jab. A rare autoimmune disease connected to Pfizer jab found by Israeli researcher. 59% will avoid unjabbed people in Illinois, according to Patch. Navy training document lists socialists as political terrorists. That was really interesting. It was published by The Intercept, and they're complaining that, how can you have socialists next to neo-Nazis? U.S. government, the U.S. government prepares to issue landmark report on UFOs. We covered that today a little bit, of how it sounds like or looks like it was just a big ploy to get more funding for the DoD. Bipartisan infrastructure bill omits climate change saved for human infrastructure. We covered that a little bit too. And a bunch of flippy updates that didn't make it. There was a New York City Council prospect who had a video leak of him doing some very unsavory things, but he doesn't think it's going to affect him. 26-year-old Wiener. His father, I think, is the one who created Dora the Explorer, so well connected. Let's see. Yep, and a bunch of Flippy updates. Do check it out, and if you're a producer of the show, your name is always listed on the website under producers. Also for the timestamps, jingle. Oh, that's what Basil does. He thanks all the producers. Okay, so we have another producer is our executive producer for episode 355, James H., Jessica L., Aaron J., Stephen S., Malik W., Sir Casey the Shield Knight, Scott K., Juan E., Tristan H., Kim W., Ethan N., Christian D., Patreon account of the year, Enlasted Zingrama, Laura E., and Sigra the Beast, the Knight of the Silent Watch. Thank you all. Timestamps, Rachel C. for the last episode. Jingle, Matt DLM. Artwork, Ali, Dove, Jeff H. Josiah. SoCal meetup is tomorrow. And contact Kimberly for the Oregon meetup. All that stuff is in the show notes at Canary Cry News Talk. Marion Breen, save them for next time, Gons. Are you talking about the articles? Because you'd be surprised. Before every episode, we spend some time, we're always kind of on the prowl for articles. And, we always, in my mind anyway, and we've talked about, Basil, we talk about stuff off air, like, oh, let's save that for next episode, And 9 times out of 10, when it comes to the next episode, there's so many other stories to cover. It's like that one story that we held on to rarely is like, oh yeah, we definitely should address that. A lot of times it gets dropped because there's just like more crazy stories happening all the time. So yeah, we try to curate as good as we can and bring you the most vital news. And, we don't cover everything. We know we miss some stuff every once in a while, but I think it's important to do what we can in terms of covering consistent stories that we've been tracking all along here. And especially Flippy. Yeah, today I gave Basil actually an option. There was like 6 Flippy updates, and he chose the pizza delivery robot. But there was a bunch of them. There's the Russian fleet using mine-hunting underwater robots. There's more underwater robot fleets to maintain offshore wind generation. And that has to do with the sustainable development, ESG, Great Reset stuff too. There's the largest robotic milking research facility in North America opens up. That's dairy milking robots. And also a startup successfully tests space hotel building robot in space, apparently. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. Space hotel. Especially for flat earthers, if they can build that thing within the decade, I wonder what would happen. Like, I bet this whole ESG thing and like having to tell exactly what you believe and all this kind of stuff, that's got to have something to do with it. Like what if a flat earther? Okay, this is my last thing, and then I'll go. What if the world is flat, and they built this hotel out there on the firmament? And, you don't identify yourself as a flat earther. You just say, you believe whatever, the normal globe theory. Everybody that goes up there has to, like, get a shot or something, right? You got to, like, get a jab. And they all get it. They all fall asleep, and they wake up in the virtual simulation where the earth is round. I'm just saying, man. I don't know. And they won't let people that think the earth is flat up there, So, all right. That's all I got for you guys. Make sure to join us again Monday. You can go to CanaryCryRadio.com/support to support us. CanaryCryRadio.com/support. And if you have friends or family that are waking up, what does Basil say? But they realize that the world isn't as it seems. We both think that Canary Cry News Talk is a great way to start wading through world events without too much of fear mongering or peddling, and doing it with Jesus as the foundation. The methodology to do that, we call it rattling their cage. And I'm trying to remember what the words are. He says it every episode, and I'm never paying attention to him because I'm working on other stuff, trying to get the show done. You walk right up to him, you grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
Man, all the stories today really does get summed up with Ultron there that we play at the end of every episode. It's pretty crazy how much predictive programming is out there, and how shows like us, we're basically summarizing it for you and repackaging that predictive programming to deconstruct it and to put it in a biblical context, because that's what the elite don't want you to know. They don't want people to realize that the Bible is true. And that's really the whole point here. So, all right. See you guys on Monday the 28th for episode 356. And Basil will be back by then. So appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, think outside the cage.
Against science.
Keep yapping, man. Boy, it's really a productive segment, man.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Bye, gold. Bye!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Vaccinations.
Aliens.
You're moving up with lots of charm. Come on, man, you're just an arm. Whoa. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now. Your nuts and bolts, perhaps 33 megavolts. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now. Enslave my kids, embark a new career. Don't you take her, it's not the year. Take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl. Flippy, don't take my girl. Hey, Flippy, please don't take my girl now.
Anytime.
Feed him more.
You can't handle the truth. He's a Satanist.
Everybody out there offered a vaccine. Don't ask any questions. Please take it.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact.
Sinful generation!
Fun fact.
We were made by the aliens.
Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Give me a break. 120 days.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. Nazis on the way. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo.
Are you even woke?
You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
It's all coming together.
I'll keep the cameras on now in my people's zoo.
Come on, man.
You, yeah, you in my people's zoo.
We're all gonna die.
Vaccinations.
They are scum.
Science is truth.
Demonic power.
I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo.
Everybody loves waffles.
I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo.
Vaccinations.
You, yeah, you. You, yeah, you. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.